I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Rock bottom make a man and some pressure make a gemstone. Trying to put $1 to my name like Creflo. Naja boy, late to the game, it's in the blood flow. And I'm from the south, it's thick skin and tough bone. Big attitude through big lips with gusto. Trust no kings, that's why they tried to crush souls. But it's ITBO, when the dust blow, this old head be standing there. No silver, just gold. Crack no books on the hustle, I was born to grind. Yo, scared of your potential, I'm adorned with mine. 30 times around the sun, man, of course I shine. My legacy will not dwarf with time. And in my daughter's eyes, it's basic, I must not say quit. Every day sees a present like a Rob St. Nick. Walk a fine line between tenacious and patient. I can't slip, I'm fighting clocks and they can't win.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror, oh oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones.
Impeccably I flow, hardest raps you know, breaking status quo, reaping what I sow, artistry like Van Gogh. Get it from my mama hip, so thick that I need tempo. Personality spicy, body banging like a bongo. Cause black women been it since Timbuktu, since Pharaoh. Sponge rollers and hot combs, lips, cheeks and brow bones. If you ain't for the culture, then please stay out of my zone. These little dummy rappers could never grace like headphones. See, I'm from a place in space where ain't no storytelling, you just had to have been there. If you want the battle, ain't no problem, say where. I got so much experience, I can't even play fair. But I'ma keep evolving and growing and hurting feelings and showing. You need endurance to go in, I got mileage on this pen. I've been busy cause I've been out here schooling all these kids. Took 3 decades to have this glow up that I did.
I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Count my bones as in desert crumbs flow. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. I've got bruised souls, cause I'm way gone, trying to find my way back home. Who that soldier in the mirror, oh oh. I'm gonna turn all of my stones. Turn all of my
Let's watch.
Don't get me back to good bullshit.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. This is Lady Freedom here, coming at you with another raw narrative. And it's so good to see all of you guys. Thanks for being here, Donna Emery. Nice to see you, Carrie Jackson. Thanks for being here. Mama, Shadow, Stephanie Williams. Thanks, everyone, for coming in. Little Red, I know I should have sent you over the link, and I was texting with you, and I just totally um, got busy because I wanted to bring on Jessica and Tina. Tina is Devlin's grandma, and I wanted her to be able to speak today because she brought up some interesting points that she sent over. And I said, well, do you want to come up on a panel? Hey, Detroit Rock City. And she said yes. And Stephanie Williams, thanks for being here. Hey, Katie Murphy, thanks for the blue hearts. Detroit Rock City, thank you so much. So we're going to get right into it today, guys. But I have some good news that I wanted Jessica to share. So let me pull her up. Hey, Bonnie's Journey. Let me get everybody here. Hey, Jessica, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hey, Jessica. Okay, hold on one second. And then Tina, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi,
Fantastic. How
Tina.
are you?
Hi, I'm great.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here, both of you guys. So Jessica, I just wanted you to be able to share some good news right off the bat. So go right ahead.
So, thanks to Lady Freedom and this podcast, I was able to get in touch with United Cajun Navy. And as of this morning, paperwork has been signed and they are joining the case to try to help find Devlin.
Awesome.
Right? That's so fantastic. I'm so excited for you, Jessica, and I so appreciate just everything that you're doing because I know it's a lot, right? That's why I said it's been a day because, we're just busy trying to get the word out. And, this is so exciting. Um, the Cajun Navy. I wanted to play a really quick video, if you guys don't mind, on the Cajun Navy and kind of what they do. There's two short 2-minute videos, just so if people aren't familiar with what they do, they are search and rescue, and with them being close to, being in Louisiana with all the storms and stuff, but they traveled to Texas most recently. And this guy's story is just really amazing. So I want to share it with you guys. So just bear with me here while I skip through an ad. Um, Here we go.
And first tonight, the urgent search for a little girl. Several agencies, including the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office, spending almost a week looking for 10-year-old Trinity Esslinger. She was reported missing in Destin June 12. And while the Sheriff's Office is concluding the search tonight, other groups say they are not finished. Our Dacian Smith spoke with members of the United Cajun Navy in Dacian. This is a story weighing heavily on the minds of everyone involved, and the Cajun Navy is not giving up.
That's right. The Cajun Navy says they've spent the last couple of days searching and supporting Trinity's family. So they want to do everything they can to help bring them closure.
For 6 days, it's been a team effort to find 10-year-old Trinity Esslinger. Several state and local agencies, along with volunteers, have been searching the water near the Destin East Pass ever since she went missing last Thursday. 2 days ago, the United Cajun Navy joined the search, but it hasn't been easy.
Storms in the area, big seas out in the Gulf has hampered our search activity into the Gulf itself. We do have some deep water boats that got out there a couple of miles offshore, but our goal is to get at least 4 miles out, and we haven't hit that goal yet.
Southern Region Commander Kevin LaFont says so far, their search is focused on the bay and channel areas close to where she went missing, but the weather has also made it difficult to search from the skies.
We have helicopters and fixed-wing airplanes that we're trying to get in the air, and we have authorization from the FAA now to get up there and do that, but the weather hasn't been conducive to getting these things up for any period of time.
While everyone is hopeful for better conditions tomorrow, the Okaloosa County Sheriff's Office says they've made the difficult decision to conclude the active search. OCSO says deputies will still patrol the area like normal, but for the United Cajun Navy, it's still all hands on deck.
Our job is to search and rescue, search and recover, aid in disasters, provide community support. This is exactly what we do, so there's no reason why we should be pulling up anytime soon.
LaFon says they plan to hit the water first thing in the morning to start searching, and he's asking anyone who can to do their part to help find Trinity.
Whether you've got sonar fancy or not, doesn't matter anymore. Come on out. We need eyes on that water. And if you don't have a boat, come on out anyways, because we'll make you crew. Anything that we can bring to bear that's going to help bring this to closure, and at the very least, her mom to be able to look anybody in the eye and say, we did everything we could do.
Okay, guys, and I don't even know if they found Little Trinity, but I thought this was a good representation of what the United Cajun Navy does. And then I also wanted to give you guys one more idea of what they do, and this is another short video, so just bear with me here.
Coverage in Kerrville now.
KENS 5 reporters Mike Jimenez and Meredith Haas have the latest on search teams and donations.
As search and recovery operations enter the second week, one nonprofit that answers the call when disaster strikes says they plan to keep moving forward.
They're called the Cajun Navy, and KENS 5 reporter Mike Jimenez spoke with them about their search efforts in Kerr County.
Mike joins us live tonight. Mike.
Alicia Isis. I spoke with Ryan Logue, who is the Deputy Incident Coordinator with the United Cajun Navy and Kerrville resident, who says this mission is personal.
For everybody here, the people that have lived there their whole life, this town is our heart. This is the foundation of our city. It's where you meet, you watch the fireworks, you give your first kiss.
Logue says when the floodwaters started rising on July 4th, he started making calls, and his brothers with the United Cajun Navy answered.
It is a grassroots organization. We are just volunteers from all over the country who care about humanity.
Logue says members from the organization started arriving the next day and have been assisting agencies with boots on the ground and in the water, vetting volunteers and gathering supplies, including medicine and equipment used to search. Logue says it's been a daily grind and struggle witnessing the destruction.
And that's the hardest part, is that you almost get numb to it until you turn around and all of a sudden you see something you never expected you'd ever see in your life. And that's when it hits you.
On Sunday morning, a new flood threat halted recovery efforts after more rain fell, prompting Kerr County officials to order evacuations for searchers.
No matter what hurdles that we're up against, the United Cajun Navy and our first responders and everybody out there will be back at it again.
Logue says as the United Cajun Navy works to help Kerr County, the community has their backs too.
At HEB the other night, I got, I don't know, probably 6 to 8 hugs. Just people walking up to me telling them thank you. You know.
Logue says the community is now united through the tragedy.
This community has come together in such a way that nobody could ever imagine. Like, we are such a united community, and this horrible tragedy is not going to divide us by any means. If anything, I've seen such a already strong community become even stronger.
If you would like to help the United Cajun Navy, you can visit their website, unitedcajunnavy.org, where you can volunteer and donate. They also ask for you to like, share, and follow their social media pages. Reporting live in Kerrville.
All right, guys. So like, share, and let's support the Cajun Navy, because they support the kids, right? They came out for Sebastian. They're coming out for Devlin. I couldn't be happier about that. And, Chuchi sleuthing over there, grabbing that information for us too. So unitedcajunnavy.org, guys, if you ever want to volunteer in your area, donate your time, or, if you want to give to the organization. But again, here's our special guest too. Jessica, do you have anything to say?
I'd like to know where Tim is in all this.
Yeah, so I like to have Tina up, because, like, going back to the beginning, right? We know that when we did the family tree and everything, and this is what we kind of go off of to help people understand, what the family dynamic is. But here we go. But we're talking about Adam, who is Devlin's dad, right? So you have the adoptive
Yeah.
Sandra and Bill, but then we have you, Jessica, and then Adam Nolan, who is his father, and Tina is Adam's mom. So, what would you like to say, Tina, about that?
Um, I guess one of the biggest questions that I have is the same as Jessica. Where is Tim in all this? Nobody's heard from him. I would like to know his intake on things that are happening. Jessica, maybe you can answer a couple of these questions, but a couple questions I have as far as Tim goes. Number one is I'm curious to know how he treated you. I want to know how Devlin was treated by Tim. My concern, and this is just in my opinion, it's just a theory. My concern is since we have not heard from Tim, if he was told that he was not the father, my concern is, maybe there was some type of an argument going on and, Devlin, well, you're not my father anyways, or I'm curious to know how Tim's demeanor is, how he treated everybody. That's my one main thing with Tim, and why hasn't he spoke up about anything? I had made a post on my Facebook page, mentioning that Devlin was my grandson, he's missing, to help get things out there. And Sabrina had commented on there something along the lines of, "You're not his grandmother. Adam is not his father. Tim is his father." Just very rudely. So there's a lot of questions when it comes to Tim that I think needs to be answered.
Well, as far as Sabrina wanting to run her mouth to you about you're not his grandma and Adam's not his father, Sabrina was 8 years old, 9 years old at the time, 8 years old when Devlin was born. She don't know what in the hell she's talking about. And this is a perfect moment for me to call out my ex-husband. Timothy Allen Hatfield Jr., because he's a junior. I would really like to know where you are in all of this, especially being that your family wants to twist the narrative and claim that you're his father, which we all know damn well that you're not. If you're his so-called father, where are you at in this? Why aren't you on the news stations pleading for help trying to find our supposed son? Why aren't you handing out flyers? Why aren't you searching for my son? Oh, wait a minute. That's right. Because Devlin isn't your son. You know Devlin isn't your son. And because of that fact, you want absolutely nothing to do with my son. Tim didn't even come back into the picture until I was hospitalized and pregnant, and your son, Tina, was already out of the picture again.
Well, I've wondered the same thing about Tim. Like, why hasn't he come out? Because when I asked you about Adam and how he feels, you were saying like he's worried and he's asking about Devlin. So I just think that everybody would be worried and asking about Devlin. Now, Tamara did send me in an email, so I can show you guys, but just Scout's honor here, she sent the email saying that Tim is worried, but I haven't seen him at all either. And so if you're in the position to be in the forefront or passing out flyers or doing vigils and just keeping Devlin's name out there, right? Because that's the battle, is keeping his name out there. I'm just
Lady Freedom.
quick to say that to Tina, and I don't think that that's nice, and that's what we've gotten from the Tates, is a lot of attacking in terms of like you're not his da da da. Okay, well, so what? You're a person who cares about Devlin.
There's a few things that I would like to point out with that too. Tim has been completely absent throughout this entire investigation. If he is Devlin's biological father, for one, days after my son disappeared, Sabrina, and Sabrina's son, went out to Mount Pleasant, where my ex-husband has been since our divorce, probably before our divorce, because I had to track him down there. If you're going down to the father's house within days of my son going missing, wouldn't you think that Tim would come back with them and join the search efforts to find his quote unquote son? And everybody wants to bring DNA. Well, there's no DNA proof that Adam is his dad, this, that, and the other. Where's the DNA proof stating that Tim's his dad?
Well, I know that when Devlin first started contacting me, he referred to me as grandma. And regardless of the outcome of any paternity, right there, that is totally not a factor for me whatsoever. The main point is to find Devlin and bring him home and give him a safe, comfortable environment that he can, continue to live in. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly.
So, as
DNA
far
can be
as
figured out later. DNA has nothing to do with the fact that my son is gone.
right, and regardless, either way, I'm invested. You know what I'm saying? I'm invested before any of this disappearance stuff happened, and just for him to call me grandma, I'm his grandma regardless. That does not concern me at this point. All that can be taken care of at a later point. So
We need
I
all
understand.
hands on deck, right? We need
Yes,
everybody to get, like we need more, support and love for Devlin. We don't need to put labels on who you are to, what I especially like you said when he called you grandma, and that's something special for you and him. You know what I'm saying? Like I just,
yes,
I appreciate you coming up here, Tina, and saying that because it is tough for you. And, we have to support each other. We can, the last thing we need to do is be arguing back and forth, but it makes it hard for you guys. And I understand that when they're attacking you, that you're not the grandma. Well, so what? Who cares?
Well, that's
Moving
why I
on,
stepped out of chat the other night.
right.
I stepped out of chat out of respect for you. She didn't drive me out. I stepped out so there wasn't a fight. I'm not trying to fight with her. This isn't about me.
Right.
This isn't about them. This is about where is Devlin. That's it. That's all.
100%. Yeah, 100%. Well, and Tina has some really good questions and theories, and that was one of them. Like,
Right.
where is everyone coming together? Especially with Tim. And I said that's a good question because I've been wondering about it too. Um, and it's a complex situation because there are a lot of people, but no working together. It's just people like, oh, okay, well, it's like we don't need the battle lines drawn. We need to actually just come together and say, where could Devlin be? What would he do? Where could he be? And because, but it's difficult because there's some very suspicious behavior that's gone on, in my opinion.
You would
Agreed.
think that the people closest to him and the people that supposedly loved him would be welcoming any and every, theory, lead, whatever, not immediately jump on the defensive and start attacking people and making threats. Like, we just want Devlin found at the end of the day. So
Right.
why are y'all trying to threaten people when we just want to find Devlin?
I think, me personally, in my opinion, I think that anybody with any information coming to you that could be a good lead or could not be, it's showing love, it's showing support, and I think that should be embraced, not demeaned, not being put down, the other person, for coming up with ideas or suggestions. Like you keep saying, everybody needs to come together. The arguing, the bickering, it's doing no good for anybody. It's really not. Everybody just
No.
needs to come together with truth. I don't know. I have a lot of my own suspicions on things, and it's just my opinions. But I think everybody needs to come together as a whole to find Devlin.
And I've
Yeah, and it
tried.
can't happen
I've tried.
when you're
It's
just
them
going
attacking
after
me.
someone. You can't. It's never gonna happen. It's like I didn't just reach out to Jessica and say, "Hey, you're gonna talk to me, or else," or she never would have talked to me, right?
Right.
I don't know about that with the fact that my kid is missing. I still probably would have, just because it gets Devlin's name out there. But, they should be
I
taking
know.
anything and everything, not attacking. And I've tried my best to play nice, despite how I feel about that family, and despite my thoughts and theories on what exactly happened to my son. I've tried to be respectful. I've tried to play nice. They've done nothing but attack me. And the
Well,
whole threat
yeah.
that got sent to you about Jessica's wrongdoing. What wrongdoing? The fact that I love and care about my son, and the fact that I'm out there looking for my son? Because she sure the hell don't have fetal alcohol syndrome, for one, so that's not wrongdoing. And two, the court document that Chuchi found and brought to our attention that I didn't even know existed proves the fact that they stole my son.
Yeah, I mean, and I can see exactly why you would feel that way. When I read that document, I was blown away really by it. I mean, it was a one-page showstopper in my opinion, right? Like, okay, well, here's proof from the court, right, that this is the truth, right? Because everybody can say stuff. It's just kind of like when we have camera footage. Everybody can say anything they want until we see the footage, and then we can understand it because we're seeing it ourselves. And it's completely different. But and I feel for your situation because I've tried to play nice too. And, it's not nice when you're coming up on the panel and you have, Matt and he's fielding questions in the chat. That if that's not damage control, I don't know what is.
Yeah. One of the other questions that I had is, speaking about Matt, is did Matt ever, or did Devlin ever live in the same home as Matt at any time?
Yes, he did. When I first got back in contact with my son, 2 weeks after he turned 18, Matt and Lorraine were living at Sandra's just like they are now. I do not know when they moved in there, so I do not know how long my son was living under the same roof, nor do I know if Matt lived there or with him at any certain point in his life after I was out of his life.
See, so that was my thought. That was my understanding as well. And to me, that is very concerning. It's very concerning.
Matt's the one that called in the supposed DV charge that never even happened. I can't wait for that recording to be released.
Katie Murphy has a question, Jessica. Katie Murphy says, Jessica, question, did you end contact with Tammy, or did she end contact with you? If so, was it before or after Devlin's disappearance?
Huh. Didn't we air that one night already, Lady Freedom, with that screenshot of all cap locks, or did you not air that yet? Katie
Yes, ma'am.
Murphy,
No. There's a clear text from you saying, or clear text from you that shows that you blocked her after she yelled at you in all caps and said that she wouldn't answer your call, but was Devlin with you. And I believe that was on April 26th, if I'm not mistaken. I can pull it up.
Something like that. But yeah, can you pull that up and show that for the whole world to see? To answer your question, Katie Murphy, a few days after my son went missing, Tammy texted me. And yes.
I do have some messages from Tamara over the past couple months, with Tamara asking me if I've heard from you at all.
Oh, really? I talk to you all the time.
Yeah, I know. Yes, we definitely
I talk to you almost on a daily basis.
Right.
But yeah, to answer your question, Katie Murphy, a few days after my son went missing, Tammy decided to text me in all cap locks, and she goes, "Do not call me. I will not answer." And then she says, "Is Devlin with you?" Do not call me. I will not answer. I'm sorry, but if my son was with me, and you're so concerned about his well-being, and you love him, and you miss him so much, wouldn't you want to hear his voice? to know for a fact from his mouth that he's okay, why don't you want me to call you?
I personally want to know why is she shutting you out so much away from Devlin? Like when they had adopted Devlin, why were they so gun ho on keeping you from being in Devlin's life at all?
Because at one of Devlin's doctor's appointments, before Devlin even reached the age of 9 months old, Bill Tait decided to make mention during the doctor's appointment that he was hitting my son's hands, trying to teach him no. Well, for one, if I don't lay my hands on my child, you damn sure ain't laying your hands on my child. And not only that, he's not even 9 months old yet. He don't understand the meaning of the word no. He's a baby with a bunch of special needs. He does not understand that. Don't put your hands on my child. And because of that, we had a big meeting and everything where I had tried to get Devlin removed from the Tait and put into an actual foster care home until I could get him back. The second we had that meeting and I tried to get Devlin removed from the Tait, that's when the tables all turned on me. That's why they went against me.
So what about when Devlin reached the age, 14, 15, 16, where he's more able to voice his opinions, his concerns and his wants and needs? When was it before he turned 18 that you heard from him last? I'm curious about that.
I didn't hear from my son one bit from the time my rights were terminated up until 2 weeks after he turned 18. By law, if I tried to contact my son in any way, shape, or form, I'd end up in a jail cell. I got 3 other kids to take care of.
Right.
It killed me to wait until he was 18, but I had to. I had no other choice. 2 weeks before he turned 18, though, best believe I was on the phone with the Berry County cops trying to figure out what legally could I do to come back into my son's life. I didn't wait.
I was thinking about that the other day, and it's just like, if I was to adopt a child, if there wasn't no like physical abuse, sexual abuse, or anything that is detrimental to that child, if the parents were willing and wanting to be a part of their life, I feel it would be beneficial to that child to have them in their life as much as possible. The more love that child has coming to them is going to make that child stronger and feel more love. That's just my opinion. So I was just curious.
And I completely get where you're coming from, but they want nothing to do with me because I've already tried to get Devlin taken away from them for how they treated my son. Oh, there you go, Lady Freedom. Thanks.
You're welcome. It took me a second because I was like, did I put that in the short one? I'm like, oh no, I put that in the J Crime Time Buzzes Live when I reviewed it. So, but yeah, Saturday, April 26th, right, 8:30 a.m. Tamara says to you, do not call me for I will not answer, but I need to know, is Devlin out there with you? ... And that's her signature ... right? So, and he said, you say no, right? You're like, no, he's not here. But then you had blocked her because of the rudeness, right? I mean, I told her I wouldn't talk to her anymore because of the rudeness either. And I'll be damned if, her, brother's going to come out and, everybody comes out and starts emailing me. It's like, hey, whoa. You guys aren't being truthful though, right? So it's hard for me to field everything out with comparing what this person's telling me and that person's telling me, and then people coming out of the woodwork that weren't even involved in the situation. That's a little odd to me,
Yeah, like Matt in chat wanting to say 4 different men, this, that, and the other. Bro, you weren't even in the fucking picture. You weren't even around. So how can you even say that?
Right. Well, it's not just one of us that's getting, threatened and, just rude behavior just in general. It's everybody, right? You know, and thank you, Carrie Jackson, for being here, hon. I appreciate you. And it does take a village. It takes everybody to get together and put our differences aside. Look, I think that people who hurt children in the way that Matt has, or the predator that he is, I don't agree with in the slightest. Are you kidding me? And I put my differences aside for Devlin because I want to find out what happened to him. And if his family wants to talk, then I'm not going to silence them. But they want to silence everybody else. And then they want to go after Tina. And Tina's been nothing but nice, you
Well,
know, and a pleasure to talk to.
I do
So,
want to make it clear the only person that's been rude to me, and that was Sabrina over the I'm not his grandmother deal. In
yeah.
the interactions that I've had with Tamara, for me, she's always been respectful. So I do got to give her that.
Yeah, I didn't have any issues with her until until I asked her a question.
Right.
You
Yeah,
know, then it
I
was
don't
like,
know. I don't know Tina. You know, me and Tina have only known each other for what, probably a year now, Tina?
Yeah, maybe just a tad bit over, but not more than that.
Yeah, and we only know each other through communication online. I knew of her, but I didn't know her until recently. And technically, I still don't really know you, but you're the grandmother of two of my children.
Right. So one of my last concern that has been plaguing me, Sabrina's ex-husband. So I think it would be interesting if he would come on here or would be willing to make contact with Lady Freedom. Just
Good
give his
luck with that,
intake.
Jamie.
Yeah, just get his intake on the Tait family situation while he was married to Sabrina. If any mistreatment that he witnessed of Devlin, from the Tait. Is there anything that he witnessed in the past or that he saw or heard that he feels, might gear his thoughts that maybe they did have something to do with his disappearance?
Good
I
luck
don't
with
know.
that theory, Tina, just due to the fact that from what I'm hearing, Ashley Tate is staying in his pool house. So good luck with that theory. If y'all can get him to talk, more power to you, but good luck.
I'm just
well,
curious. I mean,
I'll say this that I am curious about that too, Tina, because the thing is that now we need to rely on eyewitnesses that actually saw the abuse because they want to claim that it wasn't there. I think we have a lot of proof to say, there was mistreatment, no doubt. But it does help to have people that are willing to come forward with information because at this point, it's not about anybody's feelings. It's about Devlin and how he's feeling right now. Because if he's out there somewhere, someone, Cinderella says, what if someone's hiding him? And no, he was cut off from Social Security when he was 18, according to Tamara. Do you guys have anything to say about that too? Because money, it's why I have the mashup song in the beginning. The money trail is important. Money can be a motive.
I would like to touch on that. Um, so yeah, he did stop receiving his SSI, and he did not want to refile until he was down here with me because of fears of that. And the clip that she played the other night of Devlin asking, what did I say when Sabrina asked me about the adult guardian shit? And right before he asked me that, and y'all heard his voice did not sound right. He said that he needed to talk and that he was going rounds with Tammy, Will, and Sabrina. They were all fighting, and in that voice clip, you can clearly hear something going on in the background. You just can't make it out. I wish we could make that out and find out what's going on. On top of that, because Sabrina was trying to get guardianship over him, she still owes my son money to this day that she supposedly borrowed for a meal that my son didn't even get to eat. He wasn't allowed to eat it Then she goes and steals the reward money, or part of the reward money.
I was
And
gonna say she's
Tammy,
notorious for that.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah. And then
yeah.
Tammy with a little text messaging back and forth with my son, telling my son that if he didn't come and get a phone call so he could get EBT, she was gonna kick him out and evict him. Oh, that went on for a minute. She was constantly threatening to evict my son.
Oh my God, Jessica. I mean, I can't imagine what that, um, must have
But
had
she
to
cares
feel
about
like to
Devlin,
watch
right?
that, right? Because I mean, I put it in a video, but for you to have to watch that treatment and to know that everybody's knowing it can't be easy. It can't be a good feeling for you, in my opinion. I'm sorry
It's
that
not. It's
I'm
not.
so
But if
sorry,
it takes my son getting found, so be it. Just
I
like I
know.
didn't have to. Just like I didn't have to say anything about why my son was taken in the first place because it's irrelevant to his disappearance. But I had no
Right.
problem sharing that.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, it doesn't matter because, right, he didn't go missing when he's 2. He didn't go missing when he's 3. He's missing when he's, about a month away from turning 19. And so in that regard, I mean, I'm looking more at the last couple of years. Like, when did he go live with,
Yeah.
the Tates, and what was going on? And then even more so, and I know it's a sore subject, but we also have to look at the abuse and the victimology here, and that is just the way it is.
Jessica, I wanted to touch base with you on the SSI thing. So I know you said Devlin didn't want to refile or appeal the denial until he was wanting to wait until he got to you. But the fact is, and I wish he would have known this, he could have appealed because normally when a child turns 18, they're automatically
They
going to deny.
automatically cut off.
Right. I'm
Yep.
going through that with my youngest right now. But the thing is, if he would have had appealed and if the Tate family would have backed him up and, told him, look, go ahead and let's get the appeal going and help him, even if he decided, he got his SSI back and he moved to you, that SSI is going to follow him there.
No, I realize that because I got my SSI in Michigan, but that's the thing. He did not want to refile for his SSI until he was here because he did not want them controlling or stealing his money.
No, I get that. I totally get that. But, and here's the other outlook on that too. So if a judge deemed him to be able to take care of himself with being 18, then he could have, redid his SSI and put on there that he did not want a representative. He does not want somebody to control his money. The judge deemed him as being fit to take care of himself. Nobody else would have had control over that money except for Devlin.
Except for this conversation about the SSI and everything was taking place way before the judge deemed him not to need a guardian. The whole guardian thing was right before Devlin went missing.
Okay, I understand.
Literally right before he went missing. Do you got that stuff anywhere near Lady Freedom?
Yeah, I do. I do. The guardianship stuff, let's see here. Give me 1 second. Let me just pull it up because it's right near here too.
Because that's dated. That is freaking dated.
Yeah. So give me 1 second here.
Jessica, while she's excuse me, while she's checking on that. So going back to the Tate family, so we've heard a lot from Sabrina, from Tamara, and through Matt on the podcast in the comment section. So I'm just curious. I'm thinking, if we had a family member that went missing, especially with Devlin's disabilities and so forth, my whole entire family, in state and out, would be out every day, regardless if they felt the police were still searching or not, putting up flyers, whatever have you. My whole family would be talking on podcasts, on news, and everything. So I'm just Why is there only 3 people in that family that are coming forward to, to say stuff about Devlin? I mean, where's the rest of the family? Everybody, where are they at?
Well, not only that, but the people that are coming forward and talking, why are they threatening people that are only trying to find Devlin and find answers? That's a big red flag right there too.
Maybe we're hitting on some sore spots. Just saying.
Right.
And you wanted to, you just made the comment about your family, all of your family would be out searching and stuff. Your cousin just messaged me the other day questioning me about Devlin.
Right. Well, he's there in Michigan, so
yeah,
I don't
he's
know.
in GR.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say I don't know whereabouts, but I know if there was something going on and you contacted him, let him know, I can guarantee you he would be there. He would be there.
Yeah, he's in GR, and he asked me just like 2-3 days ago what was going on and if there was any news.
Right. I really wish
Well,
from
it's
day one that
scary
I would
about it.
have the resources and the money to be up there in Michigan, to try to help search, the search parties, the
And
individuals, and
I wish I could get back. I would do anything to get back, but I can't.
no, your situation is very understandable, very, very, very understandable. And I don't think anybody faults you for that whatsoever.
It's not AJ. It's not the situation with AJ. It's lacking the funds. I
Right.
would need money that I don't have in order to come home.
Yeah. But you're
Well,
doing
I don't
everything.
have
you're
anybody
doing
to
a
borrow.
good job, Jessica. You're doing a really
Yeah.
good job, and I don't mean to sound like I'm, patting you on the back or anything, but I'm just saying you are you're doing everything that you're supposed to be doing, and the biggest thing that we even see, and I think the chat can agree, especially people that follow me for Sebastian. That's the art of not letting these assholes, so to speak, get you down because it's hard because what you're going through, and this was from February 20th, 2025 at 9:50 a.m., right? Devlin says I'm severely pissed off right now, right? Because of Tammy. And you said, "What's going on, babe?" And then he says, "I'll send you some screenshots." And he does. And this is the screenshot here. You can see Tammy, and there was a call. "I need you to come home so we can contact your caseworker at DHHS, dot, dot, dot." And Devlin says, "No." Django. Sorry, guys. And she says, why not? Right. And then let it play, guys. Sorry. And then right here, she says, "You need to bring your ass out here, whether you want to or not. Your caseworker just called for you, and she will be calling back at 2 p.m. You better be here." And then he says to her, and if I had a round of applause, I'd give it to him. You don't order me around like that. If you want me to come out there, then you ask and you don't order me around, says Devlin. She goes back to him and says, "If you don't bring your ass out here, I will kick it right out the door when you come back, dot, dot, dot." And then she says to him, "I told you you need to be here at 2 p.m. for a phone call from your caseworker, and you better be here or else," at 11:45 a.m. Doesn't offer to come pick him up, just tells him he had better bring his ass over there. I mean, this is unacceptable. But I'll
Yeah.
let you ladies say something now.
No,
What about the guardianship stuff? That happened right before he disappeared.
Yeah, so this I'll bring that up. I can bring that up. Hold on one second. Because I have that was in the short one. Yep, there we go. Hold on. And I sent it to Little Red too. So she can play with it a little bit and see if we can't pull up some of that sound in the background. Because somebody's talking in the background, allegedly Sabrina is talking in the background. Just bear with me here. Oh no, it's right over here. So There we go.
I think it just went past it. Yeah.
What did you say when Sabrina talked to you about the adult guardianship question mark? What did you say when Sabrina talked to you about the adult guardianship question mark?
Okay, yep, and get this, and she has a screenshot of this too. Right before he sent that clip, he was very, very upset, and he said that he was going rounds with Will, Tammy, and Sabrina, all three of them.
Yeah, here it is, Jess. April 9th. That's right before he was missing. Wednesday, April 9th at 4:30 p.m. Call me right now, ASAP, and you right because I can't be on the phone right now. What's going on, babe? And he said going around with Bean, Will, and Tammy.
Yep, and he meant to say going rounds, meaning he's fighting with Tammy, Will, and Sabrina. And then right after he said that is when he sent that.
Right. Hey, question for you. What did you say when Sabrina talked to you about the adult guardianship? And then he sends the voice to text message. Well, that's when I put the voice to text message in here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Jessica, what about this with that message from Devlin asking what you had said about guardianship? Obviously, there was a big argument or something going on in relation to that right before he went missing. So, my question is,
what did
maybe
I say?
he said, regardless, maybe I'm going to move with my mom. I'm leaving. I'm going to move with my mom. Maybe that could be, a cause of something that had happened, from that point. I don't know.
Yeah, she pushed him into the chair, and there's screenshots to prove that within days of his disappearance. Sabrina pushed him into a chair. And I confronted Tammy about it the very next day after I found out. And that was within days of my son's disappearance.
Yeah, I think that I put that one in the J.
I think that was I think that was in a different video, but I know you shared it.
Sure.
But I mean, I can send that to you too, Tina. I confronted her about Sabrina pushing pushing Devlin into a chair, right before he went missing, and now that chair's missing. But yet they want to say that chair went missing, or the chair was gotten rid of while he was in jail. Well, if the chair was gotten rid of while he was in jail, then how was Sabrina able to push him into it?
Right.
Right. Well, they
And
said
how was I
they
able to
got a love
confront you
seat
on it?
or something. That's what Matt said. They got a love seat to
Yeah, after Devlin went missing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. They're making him sleep in the recliner, or on the floor. It's been alleged. Here we go. This is the text. But then they're like, oh, well, why didn't you get a love seat when he was there so he'd have something to sleep on better than the floor? I mean, it just doesn't make sense. Like, they try to, say these things, but it's amazing to me, right? This is the
I would just like to know where Tim's at. Where's Tim?
Well, like I said, the only thing I've heard about from Tim was his mom telling me that he's worried, not him telling me that he's worried. So,
Hey, guess what, Tammy?
It
Tammy, in your words, that's hearsay.
It hits differently, and it is hearsay. It's absolute
Well, no,
hearsay.
Tammy wants to call everything else hearsay. No, Tammy, that's the real definition. You telling everybody that Tim's worried, this, that, and the other, that's hearsay, dear.
Tell him to come forward.
That part. Come forward, Tim. Where are you at? If that's your supposed son, where are you at? And being that we both know that he is not your son, Why haven't you come forward and told everybody, hey, my family's, full of crap. That is not my child. Either way, come forward, Timothy.
Yeah, and this is 5 days before Devlin disappeared. So we have Tammy Host saying Wednesday, April 16th at 7:09 p.m. He isn't going to tell you, so I will. I called him a crybaby bitch boy. Right? What do you think of that, Tina? Because I've given my commentary. What do you think?
Pure verbal abuse. Unacceptable. Unacceptable. I just thought of something. I have a question about that chair in the love seat. If Devlin was made to sleep in the recliner or on the floor, they went and got a love seat. A love seat is small. Devlin is tall. Wouldn't you think that if they needed some type of a couch, that they'd get a regular size couch where Devlin would be at least be able to sleep somewhat comfortable versus buying a love seat?
Are you kidding me, Tina? They don't care about my son's comfortability, and it clearly shows.
I mean, it's common sense. I mean,
Common sense isn't so common these days.
for some
Just saying.
people.
That's a great point, Tina. I mean, that's a great point, and it does go to show that they didn't care whether he was comfortable or not, right? Because it's not comfortable to sleep on the floor, and we all know that for sure. We all know
It's
that
not
we couldn't
comfortable
probably
to
sleep
be.
in a recliner every night. I
It,
mean, it's.
it's not comfortable to be constantly verbally abused by people that supposedly love and care about you.
If Devlin was getting SSI, got cut off at 18 years old, if he's sleeping on the floor, has nowhere to sleep, why wasn't he allowed to take that money to go buy him a fold-out couch with a bed in it or an air mattress that, at night he could put air in it and then, let it out and when he wakes up in the morning and put it in a closet or something? Why was that not done?
When he turned 18 and got cut off of SSI, he was still at Sandra's. He wasn't at Tammy's until the false domestic violence charge.
Okay.
That's what forced him to go to Tammy's, because you couldn't be on Sandra's property.
So this next text message in green is from you, Jessica, and says, "Oh, he told me about that earlier, but didn't tell me why he had gotten into it with you and your daughter." Right? He said, and just bear with me here as I go back to the other, because I like to make it big so people can see it. And you continue to say he said Bean pushed him into a chair last night as well, and Bean is Sabrina, right? And Wednesday, April 16th at about 11 o'clock p.m., Tamara says back to you, that's funny because he just got called that, right? It was 5 days before Devlin went missing. Because he just got called that tonight when you put him on hold. So what happened with you? So she's calling him a liar, right? She's saying that's funny that he told you that.
No. I think she's saying she called him a crybaby bitch boy again when I put him on hold. I think that's what she's saying there.
Oh, so she's saying she said it twice to him. Gotcha.
Yep.
Wow. Yeah, or excuse me, or a futon, Angel Lions. Thank you. Yeah, a futon,
Yes.
a fold-out sofa bed, right? Something for him to comfortably sleep on that he could put up in the morning and it wouldn't be a mess in the house. It wouldn't be an issue, but give him something,
You can go to Walmart. You can go to Walmart and buy a blow-up bed, a little single blow-up bed for $35.
Yep, because when I first moved to Arizona, I was on an air mattress.
Yeah, well, and Chi says, my question, were they being this mean while he was on SSI, or did it get worse because of the SSI getting cut off? So they had no use for him, in my opinion. I think that's a great question for you guys.
Wow.
Because I've spoke on that before.
In my opinion, they told me that Devlin's behaviors got worse after he turned 18 and, turned into the typical male, I'm 18, you can't tell me nothing, this, that, and the other. Are you sure that his behaviors didn't get worse because y'all started treating him worse because he was no longer your cash cow?
Hmm. Interesting. What do you think, Tina, about Chi-Chi's question?
I mean, I agree with Jessica that, it is a possibility. I'm not, don't know facts, but that is a possibility. I mean, they could think, well, now we don't have no money coming in. What good is he?
Yeah, I mean, it hurts my heart because I think about it too, like that,
And 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 and
because of these
Ashley's
texts.
words. And then look at Ashley Tate's words. She's gonna do everything in her power to keep my son away from me. Now my son's missing.
Well, and Jessica, could you elaborate on that a little bit in terms of when you started talking with Devlin? We know that you went to the police and you were like, "Hey, what can I do?" And they said, "Look, Devlin's got to make that decision, right? He's 18. He can make that decision. The judge has deemed him to make decisions for himself as well. A judge that oversaw him throughout his 18 years, according to camera." So, when it comes to that, could you tell us more about your relationship and how it grew with Devlin from that point on?
So 2 weeks before my son turned 18, I called Berry County cops because it was Berry County that terminated my rights. And I wanted to know exactly what legal grounds I could take in order to come back into my son's life without, me getting into trouble. I got AJ to think about. I'm not trying to have AJ not have anybody because I'm literally all he has. They told me that I could go as far as to showing up on Sandra's doorstep, and that the only person that was able to turn me away would be Devlin himself. 2 weeks after Devlin turned 18, through an ex of mine, I was able to obtain my son's phone number and I reached out to him. It's kind of funny because I freaked him out so bad asking him personal questions that only me and him could know. And I was texting him from a random number that he didn't know. I freaked him out so bad that he blocked me. So I had to get back in touch with the ex and have him tell Devlin who I was and get him to unblock me and start talking to me. Well, then it clicked in my head, okay, I'm going to make another fake number. And then instead of, asking him.
Oh, Jess, you got cut off for a second, hon. Hold on a second, because we can't.
No, I'm here. I just had an incoming call. I hit decline. Can you hear
Oh,
me?
no worries. Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead, hon. Sorry.
I don't even know where it cut off.
You were talking about how you were talking with Devlin back and forth. You guys were, you're communicating. He's a little freaked out because you were trying to prove kind of who you are to him, and then it kind of
Yeah.
cut off.
Okay, yeah. So he freaked out and he blocked me. So I had to get a hold of that same ex and tell him, to tell Devlin who I was. And then, it dawned on me, hey, I'm just going to make another fake number and I'll message Devlin myself and tell him, it's your bio mom. I'm the one that was texting you all the personal questions. Well, Devlin ended up unblocking my number after that. And we started talking, and he was in Grand Rapids with Ashley one day at a doctor's appointment. And Ashley Tait found out that I had come back in my son's life and blocked me on my son's profile and then proceeded on her own profile, and you have screenshots of that, proceeded to threaten me and talk bad about me in every way, shape, and form. 231. Oh no, Tina, I think your son just tried to call me. I
He'll be
think
all
I just
right.
ignored Adam.
It'll be all right. He'll check on you again later, if not another day.
um, yeah, she proceeded.
Oh, hold on, hon. So
Your
I'll
son's
just
gonna
say
be so
that
mad at me.
there's a common theme of the threatening and, kind of just making somebody feel like crap about themselves is never a good thing. We'll just say that. Hey, Jackie T, thanks for being here, hon.
Yeah, Ashley Tate literally said that she would do everything in her power for me not to come back into my son's life. And that's why I said good luck on the theory of talking to Sabrina's ex-husband, because Ashley Tate's living in his pool house.
Yeah, they're close. They're close. That's gonna be, I mean, as unfortunate as it is in these situations, sometimes there is a difficulty working together, and you know, we've gotten a little headway, I think, a little bit more than some people might, but again, it just kind of falls apart. And I understand your frustration. So, it sounds like he's probably, more so. I mean, we can only get people to come out and say what they're going to say from their perspective, right? And that's always why it's like, allegedly in
And
someone's
I,
own opinion.
right, and I haven't heard from this guy. I don't know this guy from Adam. And,
Mhm.
how do we know that he has not come forward because he himself is scared? Ashley's living in the pool house.
Hey, Lady Freedom and Jessica, my neighbor is elderly and I help take care of her. She just called my mom saying that something happened and she needs help. So I'm going to jump off of here and go over here and see what's going on.
Thanks, Tina. If you want to join back, just, come back on the link.
All right, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Bye-bye.
Praying for your
Hey,
neighbor.
Tina, don't be surprised if your son calls you because he keeps calling me. He's already off, isn't she?
Yeah, I think so. She probably here. I'm gonna take her. She might not know how to go off. I don't want to get any of her background stuff if she's with, her neighbor. Hold on one second.
Adams just tried to call me 3 times.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, or I would just say try to put him on the speakerphone, but I don't know how that works, and I don't want to get him in more.
When he calls me and I answer the calls, it says that there's no third party calls. Is this a third party call?
Yeah, because I'd be the third party, like, because he's calling you, so then that would make me the third one. But so going back to Devlin and your relationship, let's go back to Ashley. So you guys are at the doctor's office. Ashley's saying some hateful stuff. She's saying she's not going to let you be around Devlin or she'll do anything. And then after that, what happens? Like, is that when Devlin's not allowed to talk to you anymore at the house, or is that when the family found out about you, or what did that look like?
I think that was when that might have been around the same time or right when the family found out. I don't know when everybody found out that I was back in Devlin's life. But from the beginning, probably for a few months, whenever Devlin wanted to talk to me, he had to leave Tammy's house. He was not allowed to talk to me at Tammy's house. And then it got to a point where he could talk to me at Tammy's house, but he had to talk to me on the opposite side of the house. It finally reached a point where we were all, talking together, and, me and Tammy would text, call. AJ was hospitalized right before, Devlin's disappearance with the flu and pneumonia. And Tammy was texting me back and forth, concerned about how my son was doing. And AJ's nothing to them but Devlin's baby brother. They showed more concern for my baby than they showed concern for the child that they adopted into their family.
And Carrie Jackson wants to know who paid the phone bill. That was you, right? You had the phone. You were.
Okay. So Devlin went through several phones within the not even year that I was back in his life. It turned a year after he disappeared. So we weren't even in contact for a year when my son went missing. And he went through several different phones during that time. I'll send you a list, Lady Freedom, later on today, because I have a
Okay.
list of every single phone number that I've ever had for Devlin. But one of those phones, and I'll make sure that I circle the number. One of those phones I added to my line. I go through Boost, and I added a line, bought the phone here, and I sent it to Sandra's house for Devlin. And I was paying that phone bill up until Devlin got locked up for the last time. And I was made to believe that my son was possibly facing 4 years. Well, that didn't end up being the case. But, being under the impression my son's about to go away for 4 years, I'm on limited income. Why am I going to continue to pay for a phone that's not being used? Because Devlin's facing 4 years. Well, Devlin didn't end up facing 4 years. And I had already, shut the phone off. And all he had to do was wait 2.5 weeks for me to get paid and turn the phone back on. Devlin ended up breaking that phone. So I was never able to turn it back on. Since that phone got broke, I believe he went through 2 other phones before he went missing.
Do you think that he was breaking them, dropping them, or maybe someone else was breaking them? Because Carrie Jackson's asking, or she says they probably broke his phone, or breaking his phones, because that's a lot to break. I get, some kids are hard on their phones. Boys maybe. I mean, he said he did drop his phone on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah,
On
Devlin is
video.
Devlin's like me. He is prone to dropping things, especially when he ends up like having panic attacks. And he would have panic attacks a lot. And me and a certain friend of his from school would have to like calm him down.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, all the extra stress doesn't help. I mean, it really breaks my heart, all of the extra stress that Devlin had to that he was being put through, excuse me. I mean, it's not even having to deal with it. He's being put through it. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
it's like kicking someone when they're down, right? You just kick them when they're down, right? You don't try to hold out
Yeah.
your hand and help them up. You kick them when they're down there, and that's kind of, me putting it mildly. And going back to all of that, so the family's telling Devlin, like, you can't be talking to Jessica if you're in the house. So he's kind of sneaking to talk to you or whatever. So he says, okay, I'll talk to my mom, like when I'm out or whatever. But he was
Oh
still
no!
texting
If he
you. And oh, I'm sorry, Jess, I don't know if we lost you there for a second. But um because that's got to be
can
stressful
you hear
too,
me?
that he can't just call you. Yep, I can hear you now.
Sorry. Apparently, if I shut my screen off, I lose you.
Yeah, I think you have to stay in the same screen, I know. Oh, Carrie's asking who paid Devlin's fines.
That's the Ionia charge. So the Ionia charge and the reason why he spent a month in jail. So oh my God, what are you going to release that recording, Lady Freedom?
I
Um,
know, I'm trying to put everything in order, so I know it's tough. I just feel like we shut them down with one document, right? And the document I'm referring to, I think I still have it. Yeah, it's from
yeah,
Michigan,
the one that
right?
Tucci found. Yep,
Yeah,
the
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 one
one
that
that Tucci found. But
yeah.
the reason why he was in Ionia County Jail is because in the middle of the night he decided to get on Tammy's phone and direct deposit a little over $400 from Tammy's account into his PayPal account. to try to pay his court costs and fines and everything for the false domestic violence charge they put on him in a failed attempt to prevent him from coming out here and being with me.
So it sounds like Devlin was in a panic and he's like, holy crap, I have to pay these before I get thrown in jail. Was he looking at jail time if he didn't pay his fines on time?
I have no idea what possessed him to do what he did, but that's why he spent a month in Ionia County Jail.
Right. And you had told me that, right. Yeah. Um just to kind of put it into perspective for all the viewers and stuff and everyone that'll listen on the replay, because I mean, to be honest, again, I feel for Devlin. I'm not condoning his behavior, of course, but I do think that, he was just trying to survive and he was just trying to get the court costs paid for. And then we also heard a story about him breaking in and sleeping in the other county. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Not really, because that one I don't know too much about. Um, from what I was originally told, it wasn't just Devlin, it was a group of people, but now the story is switching up, and I'm not there. I wasn't there, so I don't know what's true and what's not. Because everything that comes from the Taits, as you can see, needs to be taken with a grain of salt.
Yeah, yeah, and maybe even less, because some of it is just self-preservation, in my opinion. Right? It's like deflection, minimizing what's going on. So coming back to this text message here, you're saying, so what happened with you, him, and Sabrina last night, right? And this is April 16th,
Yep.
5 days before he went missing. Just bear with me on this. And Tamara says back to you his attitude, and you said figured as much. She says he's lying to everyone, right?
Yep.
So, and let me see if I put this more in here, because I know I put more in here. So just bear with me. But that was right before he went missing. And then here's the next part of that. He says, or excuse me, Tamara says, he likes to tell people what he wants them to hear, but not the truth. Sorry, I thought that was paused. All right. He constantly is calling mama and she gets so upset, right? But this is 5 days before he went missing, right? So that's a little bit concerning. Now, we did talk a little bit about Devlin calling a lot, right? But in the same way, I guess I don't understand about getting upset with him.
I really don't understand that part either. Because if you're his mom, she's his other mother, and you care about him so much, why are you getting upset that he's calling you? I would never get upset that he's calling me. If I couldn't take his call, I'd let him know.
Well, sure, and just yeah, and you would still ask him like what's going on though. You were still being supportive. Detroit Rock City says, was Tamara in control of his money?
I think at one point in time Sabrina was in control of his money, because at one point in time Sabrina did have guardianship of him. But that was before I came back into his life.
Right.
So I really can't speak to that much.
Yeah, because I find that to be important as well, because when did it happen from, because we know at least in 2016-17 Devlin was taken, put it into the custody of Gordon and his wife at the time, right? And then at some point Sabrina ended up taking over. It is to the best of my understanding.
Yeah, but I don't know when that was. But she had guardianship of him at some point in time, which would leave her in control of his money. And hello, reward money. What'd she do with that? So I could only imagine what she was doing with his SSI.
Right. Exactly. And that's the thing. And that's what Detroit's saying. What was there any bank accounts? Because Devlin didn't have a bank account.
Yes, he did.
Oh, he did. And he had like a
At,
debit card.
at Huntington Bank, I believe. I believe it was Huntington.
Interesting. Because they were saying the only card he had on him was the EBT card.
Well, if that's the case, then that means he didn't have his wallet on him, which I highly doubt. Why would he have his EBT card on him but not his wallet?
Well, Tamara said he had his wallet. She told that to
Well,
Crime Time Buzz.
If he had his wallet, then he had his fucking bank card.
Right.
Sorry, please excuse my language.
No, you're okay, Jess. I know you weren't telling me. I mean, like I said, I think you're doing good because I'd not be, I mean, it's difficult. You're going through a lot of shit. Women's Warrior says, Lady and Jess, it's BS. She was just telling him she was upset from him calling Mama. This is triangulation. Absolutely. Women's Warrior and isolation to silence Devlin from speaking to both his mamas. Something bad happened. And I agree. I mean, it's like you can't believe anything that comes out of their mouths, right? Because she's saying, "Oh, he would call Mama and he had a good relationship with Mama," but then we see that she's telling everybody that Mama's upset with him calling constantly, right? And Chuchi says, "What the fuck? How many people had guardianship of Devlin? In my opinion, he was passed around. I feel like he was passed around. I think so too.
But
That's why
yet
I'm
the
kind of
Tates
trying to
raised him,
establish
right?
it.
But yet the Tates raised him, right? Bill and Sandra raised him?
That's my problem, Jessica, because of the hostility level from Tamara. And I read the email from when she first, gotten a hold of me. She said, I was full of shit and anybody I was listening to was full of shit. And at that time, I wasn't getting the best information from some of the sources that I was working with in the beginning. I'll just say that. That's why, I've chosen to kind of, work with the family, see what we can do there, see what resources we can get over, that sort of thing. But she was very adamant about how Sandra and Bill were his parents, and that she was the sister, and it's very strange, the narrative that she's pushing, that it doesn't make sense at all. It's completely wacky, right? Let's just be honest. And I don't mean to talk shit on Devlin's family, but it's very wacky dynamic.
Not family, not blood.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, blood or not, you don't treat family the way that they treated my son.
Absolutely.
They can't even try to call my son family with the way that they treated my son. You don't treat your family like that.
Absolutely. And Karen says, hey, Karen, good to have you. She says the United Cajun Navy has been saying so many Houston's, or maybe she's saying saving so many of Houston's. They rescued an old folks home and was going underwater during Hurricane Harvey. So many more in Houston. So grateful for them. Yeah, absolutely, Karen. I agree. And thank you for being here and sharing that too. Because yeah, they help everywhere, guys. They do.
Yeah, thank you guys for getting me that information. I really appreciate it. Let's get my
Absolutely.
baby home.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I wanted to, highlight about the situation is that, we need the family to step up, right? And you did that. So, I'm just appreciative for that because we can't do it without each other, right? Like Chuchi sent over, and big shout out to Chuchi and all of the sleuthing that she's doing. But she got me the link. I sent it to Jessica. It was super fast because I'm only one person, right? And so Chuchi's like sprung into action, grabbed that link, sent it over to me. I sent it to Jessica. She got the ball rolling, and here we are. And that's huge, guys, and that's a huge win. And um oh, I'm sorry, guys. It's not .com. Hold on. Let me delete my comment. Put Lady Freedom in the timeout chair for that. UnitedCajunNavy.org. So, I mean, it's huge, right? And we don't want to take away from it at all. Let me see if I can get their link really quick. But I also think that it's important to establish that, Devlin has and always has had a great big group of people that he calls family, that call him family. And it's, it was definitely portrayed differently in the beginning. And when you have a mom that's out here that wants to be vocal, that wants to be a part of everything, that wants to um, reach out to the resources whenever we give them to her, that is a parent that's looking, right? That's the parent that I want to help out. I don't want to go back and forth about the technicalities. And just I always joke around with you, I'm not Maury. I can't give you guys the paternity test. I wish I could, but
No,
and
but my biggest thing with that though, my biggest thing with that, they want to claim that, oh, Tim's the dad. There's no DNA proof with Adam. This, that, and the other. Dude, where's the DNA proof with Tim? There is none. So if you want to point out the fact that there's no DNA proof with Adam, admit to the fact that there's no DNA proof with Tim either.
right. Yeah. And it's really not important because we need everyone's help to find Devlin. We need
Right.
everybody
And
to
and
tell us.
and, and again, where are you, Tim? That's your supposed son, right? Where are you, Tim?
Yeah, I've wondered the same thing. Women's Warrior has a question about the false DV. Women's Warrior says the false DV charge would prevent Devlin from going to Jessica's because he would be he would be classed as a risk to AJ, his baby brother. This was a sick and
No.
calculated move. What are they hiding?
The
That's a
fact
good
that he
point that I
got
didn't think of.
the the fact that he got put on probation because of the false domestic violence charge was what was preventing him from coming here. But her saying that makes me look at it in a whole new light. Like, damn,
Yeah.
they
That's why I
really,
like to go to the
wow.
chat. Yeah, absolutely. That's why I love going to the chat because there's things that, I'm not even thinking about either. I wanted to share this really quick, guys, with the United Cajun Navy site, because I put it in
Yeah,
the chat.
I got to get off here in a second too. It's I'm disconnecting AJ right now, but I got like less than 20 minutes to get to my doctor's office.
No worries. I know you had an appointment scheduled today, and I appreciate you doing that, Jessica. And that's the thing, you're living life. You have a little one to take care of, right? AJ relies on you. I appreciated you coming up here at the last minute and also Tina too. This was not planned, guys. This was just something that Jessica wanted to get the word out there, right? I wanted her to be the one, and I'm not going to talk about it, but I'm going to tell you right now, I wanted Jessica to be the one to make this announcement because it was her tenacity, right? Her accepting the resources when she was given them. I'm super proud of you, Jessica. Like I'm just excited for you, and I want Devlin to be found. And I think we're going in the right direction, and I'm very grateful. But I do think that you should be the one to tell everybody about this good news, right? So I wanted to have you up for that reason. But I also think that, you've been really dragged through the mud by people with bad intentions. And it's not just the Tait. There was other things that were said and
Yep.
done here that I don't want to get into, of course, because I don't want to ruin the
People that don't even know me have trashed me online.
right. And I also don't want to give them the attention and take away from the positivity of what we've accomplished, right? Like Chuchi and then, just you going there and doing that and getting together with them. I don't want to take away from that at all. Um, you know,
Yeah.
Chuchi says,
Azul, you need
Tim
to get
Martin,
out of the way because I need to get out the door with him. Azul, get out of the way.
Go for it, Jess. Go ahead and get to your appointment. I appreciate you being up here and sharing that with us, and I appreciate you.
I appreciate you having me, and thank you for everything you're doing trying to find my son. That means a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure to do it. We're gonna figure it out. I think it's a little bit easier than we maybe think. It's just people got to come forward. So, oh, Carrie Jackson says, "Love you, Jessica." Jackie T says,
Love you
"Jess,
too. Thank you.
love and prayers." Yep. So, all
Do
right,
you
girl. I'll
have
talk
more
to you later.
tissue water?
Have a safe trip.
I appreciate that. Thank you. I'll let you know if you want to talk more or whatever. I'll let you know when I get out of the doctor's appointment today.
Yeah, sure thing. Sure thing. Yeah, and keep your head up and, stay positive. I know it's tough. You're doing an amazing job. I would be inconsolable. So, Women's Warrior
I
says, "Just
I strongly I strongly believe that AJ's the only reason why I haven't broken down yet.
yeah, you have AJ there, and that's the big thing too. You have to stay focused, and that's not easy to do when you're under stress, right? Like you're doing amazing. I just really have to say that. Um yeah, so and we're here to support you and we're here to find Devlin. So yeah, let's keep going forward. All right, Jess, you take care. I'll talk to you later. Oh, I think I lost her. Hey, Women's Warrior. Women's Warrior says, Jessica, you're an amazing mother and you always have been. Unfortunately, you were duped into them taking your baby from you. Devlin is lucky to have you. And I second that, Women's Warrior. And it's just tough, right? It's just a tough situation where there's a lot of negativity, but here we have a little ray of sunshine peeking through. In my opinion, and that is the United Cajun Navy, right? So I'm excited about that. I really am. And I know Jessica is too. Um, oh, okay. Okay, Jessica says she did fall off. I just got a message from her. All right. All right. Yeah, she had an appointment that she has to get to too. So fantastic. Okay. But yeah, guys, so thank you. And thank you guys so much for the love in the chat. I know it was a little bit heated today, and I wanted Jessica to be able to come out and speak because I don't know how it hit somebody when I put out a video about their son and the way that they were so Devlin is so mistreated, right? Like I feel the outrage, but if that was my daughter, I would be just as mad as Jessica, right? And I think it's upsetting for Tina because she feels that connection with Devlin and Devlin felt the connection with her, and for people to come in and be negative about a special connection makes me pause, right? Why didn't you want him to get to know his family? You know? Oh, hey Tina. Tina's back with us. Hold on one second, guys.
I'm here. Sorry about that earlier, guys. I apologize.
No worries. Is your neighbor okay?
Yeah, she is. She's an elderly lady that lives by herself, and we kind of take care of her. And she had just called and screamed help. So last time that happened, she actually had failed. So, but she's fine. So yeah, I apologize about that.
I had a little neighbor lady when I first moved in. She moved out now, but I felt so bad because she was doing that one night and I didn't know who to contact and I didn't know if I should go over there or scare her. Sorry, I'm trying to place us here on the screen. Musical. There we go. We'll just leave it there because we can still see Devlin. Um, but yeah, no, I understand and thanks for looking out for your neighbors. That's
Oh
what
yeah, of
we're,
course.
we got to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Hey, Ann Reynolds. So yeah, Tina, go ahead and kind of tell us a little bit more about your relationship with Devlin.
Um, well, really didn't start talking with Devlin probably until maybe I want to say like a month prior to his disappearance. Honestly, I didn't know about Devlin until, a little bit prior to that. And then Jessica and I started talking, and then Devlin and I, mainly our conversations were on Facebook Messenger. He did try calling me quite a few times, but he always caught me when I was at work, so I could never stop to, actually talk to him. But he was really interested in wanting to reach out to my son Adam, and I mean that's the basics of our conversation. Not too much of what's going on with the Tates, or he would constantly contact me though. Hey, did you hear from my mom? Can you call my mom? She's not calling me back. That's Devlin. He's worried about his mom. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much the extent of it. We had just started a relationship, or trying to get into a relationship, but like I said, he always called grandma. I'm his grandma, and I will always be his grandma, no matter how things turn out as far as paternity goes in the future. That's my grandson, and so I feel like I'm invested in this regardless. And just the fact that he calls me his grandma it's heartwarming, or it's heartwarming. It hits your soul, it's special.
Yeah, well, that's why I was kind of, it was like unfortunate to hear that that was kind of, just kind of try to turn that negative, and it's not, it's a very positive thing. I think like one thing that we learn as we grow up is like, you don't have as many friends, but you rely on your family more so, and
Right.
your family is who is important, right? That they got your back, and the more family that Devlin could have had that was a good support system for him, that because Jessica and I were joking earlier today too, like trying to figure out the show times because she's 3 hours behind me, and and so Devlin
Right.
trying to figure out the time zones too is like, I think it's hard on anybody, right?
Right. Yeah,
So
me and Devlin had that conversation in one of our messages about because Michigan and where I'm at from Florida, we're on the same timing. So he was asking, well, is your time the same as my time? It was a lot of talk about that. But I mean, I wish, we would have been able to get in contact, way beforehand, to where we could have been able to build that relationship. Maybe, he would have been apt to open up to me more, about what's going on within the family. Maybe I could have, helped Jessica come up with solutions or something to try to get Devlin from Michigan up to where she's at, or, just anything. Maybe I wish I would have had more information that I can provide to say, hey, this might, lead to where he's at, or, a possibility of this could have happened. But unfortunately, we didn't have that time together for me to try to get, any information or anything that would be valid now to bring forth.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, and I mean, like even us coming together, Holly S said the families are lucky to have your lady freedom, but I think it just takes all of
Yes.
us too, like even in the chat, people that are in here listening, people that want to know more about the stories and stuff is, the community that we can build in order to find the kids, in order to push out more information, share flyers out, like kind of network with each other. And it does take everybody listening and saying, and caring. Like it's just all about caring for each other.
Right. And I feel it's really unfortunate that it had to come to what's happening now. But
Yeah.
the support, I think that a lot of people are given, different states, different counties, people who know Devlin, who don't even know Devlin, the support that Devlin is getting right now, I think that it would just make his heart melt. I think he would just absolutely love, the fact that he has so much support behind him right now. And I think that, we got to keep pushing for that. The more support that he gets, the more information that maybe could come in. Maybe, I don't know. Somebody knows something, and I don't know why nobody's speaking up. I'm hoping that between the podcast, the news, everything, somebody's going to break. Someone's going to break and come forth with some type of information. And that's what needs to happen.
I agree with you, Tina. I think that's the biggest hurdle that we're experiencing right now is this kind of like a lull in information because there were some people that were saying things, but we need like an eyewitness to come out and just say, hey, I saw Devlin walking past my shop, or hey, I didn't realize it, but I was looking over some old footage and I saw him on a ring camera, or just
Right.
something,
Even if they don't think it's significant, or oh no, that's not even worth mentioning. Yeah, it's worth anything is worth mentioning. Anything, we as as his support, as Devlin supporters, the police, they can cipher through to find out what's important and what's not. So if anybody's out there listening, if you have any information, whether you believe that it's something that can help, or you just feel that it's nothing and not worth mentioning, mention it. Mention it. Let the law, let the cops, whoever, cipher through to decide what's important or what's not. Anything that maybe you have seen, you have heard, you never know. It could lead to Devlin. It could lead to find out what's happening to Devlin.
Well, and that's exactly it too. I mean, because I know that it's probably not going to be easy to hear, but if it happened, it happened. We can't change what happened before, but we can do better now and still try to come together and find him. And what do you
Right.
think about what Detroit's saying here? Tina, she says, I have a feeling that Devlin was speaking up and they didn't like that. They were afraid he was going to tell someone what was really going on, in my opinion.
Actually, I was thinking about that because I was watching one of the podcasts that you did, where well, actually the video where Devlin was sticking up for himself. He's calling them out. Don't talk to me like that. You come to me and you speak to me. Don't demand from me. I've always wondered that myself. That is a really great question. Um, I kind of feel the same way. I feel like something happened. He stood up for himself, and maybe he got ganged up on. Maybe he got tired of the abuse, and I do say abuse, that he was
I
having to endure, and he has that backbone, and he wanted to stand up for himself. I mean, there's all kinds of different scenarios that could have happened to him, within the family and outside of the family. Anything is possible at this point.
I agree with that, and I did call out to Ed Golder yesterday, Detroit, because Detroit was hooking me up with some resources as well up there, to try to get Devlin's story out more. His just get his face out on the news outlets. Still missing. Almost 6 months in, and where's Devlin Tate? Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on one second.
Is Jessica still here?
No, she had to drop off because she has an appointment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, but Devlin just seems like a really loving kid. Like, it just seems like he wanted to get to know a different part of his family because of the way that he was getting treated too, is kind of my um take on things.
Right. And like I said earlier, and I think you touched on too, that, the more people, family or non, that he has supporting him or that's there for him, just to even talk to, that's something that's major positive. Give him something positive to look forward to know that he has people that he can reach out to, and if he's in need of something, or doesn't have to be in need, just that know that he's loved and cared for. And that's what really bothers me, that the Tait family, while Devin was growing up, wouldn't allow him or Jessica any kind of contact with him. I could see if Jessica physically abused him or put his life in danger or something like that, but just to cut off that communication line between them, I personally don't think that was fair for either one of them. For either one of them.
Well, I agree with that 100%. And here's my big question when it comes to this topic. And I'm glad that you brought it up too, or that we're discussing it, because, like, if Tim is the father, right? And I know Jessica's very adamant, and I believe her. She hasn't,
Mhm.
lied to me. So I don't, you know what I mean? I haven't like caught her in a big lie, or, oh, here's this moment where I think, oh boy, Jessica's really, thinking that she's pulling one over on me or something, so I haven't had that feeling or that experience so far. And but I have to wonder, if that's Tim's kid, why were they deliberately trying to cut off a relationship with Tim and his son then? What do you think of
Hmm.
that?
I didn't know that, so I don't know. I would have to talk with Jessica, kind of get some more input on that, because I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, well, because it's, well, and I'm not saying that he didn't see him, but once your parental rights are terminated, that is, you're not allowed really. I mean, according to this document too, and I don't know if you've looked at this or not, but they were taking Jessica and Timothy Allen Hatfield Jr. to court to get custody of Devlin taken away from both of them.
So what if at the time Tim was agreeing to that with the family, for thinking, being told that, it wasn't his child, he really didn't give a damn, you know what I'm saying? So, and he's in the family, so he's always going to have contact with Devlin.
Right.
Regardless of what the court order says. It with Jessica, it's different because she's not, literally in the family.
Right. Exactly. That's a very good point. And it just made me wonder, because I'm like, you know, uh, it's just an odd situation, and I know that it's not odd. It's actually pretty typical for grandparents to take custody of kids, right?
Right,
But
right.
those weren't Devlin's. If that's Tim's child, right? Then that isn't. Here, let me pull this up because this is completely screwed up in my opinion. But okay, so you know, if Devlin is in fact Timothy's son, then that
Hmm.
would make Sandra and Bill Tate his great grandparents, and that would make Tamara his grandmother, and that's why Tamara says she's his grandmother slash sister, or sister slash grandmother.
I think that's, to me, that's just odd to say that. I would just say I'm his grandmother. I mean, to me, that's just kind of odd how they categorize the relationship. I don't know. To me, it's just weird.
Well, and it's hard for the viewers too. And I'm not saying that there's, when there's love in a family, that's one thing, but we're seeing a very odd dynamic, and so I'm not
Hmm.
trying to, you know, um, talk about something that is irrelevant, but I think it is relevant just to know that they're right off the bat they're pushing a narrative that isn't true, and so and that doesn't ring true. Like, if anybody's listening and they're listening to Tamara's statements, that's going to cause anyone to say, wait, you're his sister, grandmother's sister, what?
Yeah, it's going to be very, very confusing. It's going to take away from the main fact of why Devlin's name's being put out there, which is because he's missing.
Well, and it bothers me too that you're saying, hey, I was spreading awareness and, Devlin and I had a close relationship right before he went missing. He was calling me grandma and you're just trying to help and you're trying to spread awareness and they got to say, well, you're not, his grandma. Like that's to me that's
Yeah.
ugly and not productive and like Detroit says, he's reaching out for someone to listen to him, someone who cares, right?
Right. Right. I agree.
So like he wouldn't be looking in other places if he had all the love. Like I think about other adoptees and different kids that, we might see or whatever statistically speaking. And in my opinion, it's like if they have enough love, sometimes they won't even be curious. I mean, they'll have a curiosity, but they're not searching for their biological parents.
Right.
When yeah, and then again, and just to and I'm not being biased when it comes to Jessica. Sorry, I meant to take this off. When I'm not being biased when it comes to Jessica, but the fact that she went and contacted her son as soon as she could, knowing that she had her rights taken from her, but she knew that she had to wait till he was 18, like that breaks my
Mhm.
heart as a mother.
I couldn't imagine what Jessica's gone through, for the 18 years. I just cannot fathom, the emotional, stress that that's gone through. And then knowing that, she has dislikes for the Tate family and she knows, how they are to have her son with them. I can't even, begin to imagine, the worrying that she spent 18 years going through.
Yeah, I can't either. And then, on top of it, she's trying to pass out flyers in Arizona because they're
Right.
they're trying to point to, Matt was pointing to Devlin having a plan according to what Tamara was saying, right? And Matt said it in the chat that there was this plan that Devlin was trying to get to Arizona, but do you think that he could have made it like without any money or ways of I don't see how he would have gotten there.
I'm going to make it clear. My opinions is this: Devlin did not run away. I do not believe that with 100% of my being. I do not believe that Devlin did anything to harm himself. I just those are the two top things I just absolutely disagree with and don't believe it. I just don't. He was very excited to get up there to see his mom Jessica, to see AJ. He was very excited about getting receiving a phone call from my son Adam, his dad. So he had some things to look forward to, and I also think that, I mean, think about it. If you are planning on running away, you're going to take more than just a flashlight, a charger, and your phone, and a card for $200 on a food stamp card. There's I just don't believe none of that. I
Right.
think something happened to him. I do not know if the Tates were involved or if they have knowledge. I don't know if it was somebody that was bullying him, or maybe he got a call about a job. And I mean, I don't want to go into specifics of what I'm thinking, but there's a lot of really bad negative things I've been thinking that are possibilities. I mean, there's so many different possibilities, and definitely any type of self-harming or suicide or running, or for him to be a runaway, those are just not an option. I just don't believe that.
Well, and
Not
I
at
think
all.
that like Carrie Joe's right as well, that he wouldn't go there without talking to Jessica first. Do you think that too?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. Jessica, he probably would have called Jessica, I think, to, find out, hey, I'm getting ready to catch a bus, what bus do I take? Or, a plane, whatever. I think he would have called her and said, hey, I'm headed your way, and this is how
Right.
I'm going to get there or something. And it's been almost 6 months, not a phone call, no sightings of him, no use of his food card. There is nothing at all. If he would have ran away, somebody would have heard something, whether it be Sabrina, Tamara, Jessica, anybody, somebody would have seen him or heard from him. That's what I'm saying. I don't believe at all that he ran away. Something has happened to Devlin and somebody knows something.
Yeah, I agree with that too, because that's kind of what everything, once we eliminate certain things, then, you know, it's difficult, right? And
Right.
Cece, Jessica's not on the panel anymore, but she says, Jessica, I do not mean this bad, but who is actually Devlin's bio father? I may have missed that part. Is it Tim? So, Cece, thank you for asking, because I know it's again a little bit confusing. So, Adam Nolan is who Jessica believes is Devlin's dad. And look, I wasn't there with Adam and Jessica, and I can't like I wish I could, direct them, but since Devlin's missing, like they can't get a DNA test, right, Tina? I mean,
They could actually, because there was actually a paternity test that was done with my son just a little bit over a year ago. So yeah, there is actually a way, but Jessica, I don't even know. Yeah, I guess Jessica could possibly. Well, if Devlin, I think the only way that they could do it is if Devlin was actually here, physically has to be here for them to get a swab or blood or whatever. But she could petition the courts, or Devlin could petition the courts to have a DNA test done. And yes, it is possible to have it done.
okay,
But
great. Like,
again, he would have
yeah,
to be here.
because I was gonna say he'd get a buccal swab on his cheek, and then that's how they would, everybody would get the buccal swab. That
Right,
is.
right. As they actually had went out to the prison where Adam's at and did that. And then they went ahead and ran a paternity test for another child. So yes, it could happen.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for letting us know that. So, but the thing is, Cece, is that the Tates are claiming that Tim Hatfield is Devlin's biological father, and but see, this is another thing, Tina, that they also alleged that, it could have been other people too. Matt was being rude in the chat and, or in my comments, and said, well, it could be 4 other people. And Matt wasn't even around. Like, how would he
Right,
know? Just like, how would I know? Or I mean, you're his mom, but in the same way, like, we weren't there when they were dating. I didn't know him. I wasn't a friend of theirs that went, to
right,
school with them or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, so it's just, to me, it's like a moot point. If Jessica says that Adam's the dad, and you're willing to say, yeah, he's my grandson, I'm his grandma, we had a close relationship, a special bond together, then that's all I need to know, really. And to be nasty is, well, like, we don't need that. We need
right.
support, love, care for each other, compassion, show a little bit of, I mean, I know it's tough, but I've tried to say, I understand if you don't agree with each other or like each other, but let's come together, see what we can come up with. Just for that purpose only, is to find Devlin.
Exactly,
Um,
exactly. I
so,
agree.
and I know you feel like that too. It's been a pleasure talking with you the couple times that we've talked. Even in text message, and I appreciate you sending me theories too, because it's like all brains on deck, all hands on deck. We need people to come out and be like, hey, I'm not sure if Devlin's my family or not, but I think of him that way, and we need to find him.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody's, theories, ideas, as crazy as it sounds, again, it's worth mentioning. It's worth, for the law enforcement, for you guys, whomever, to cipher through. It could be a good lead, it could not be, but if you hold, your tongue and you stay in silence, we don't have anything to work on.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing, like you said, somebody's got to know something or have seen something. Um, Carrie Jackson says the picture that the Tates gave of Devlin saying it was taken at church Easter Sunday looks way younger. So this is perfect segue here to the photo that you sent me too, and I did upload it. Tina, hold on, let's see. So yeah, this is Devlin with his beard, like a full beard.
Right. Yeah, because I thought that would be a good picture that needed to kind of be put out there too. Instead of just being clean shaven, this is he's looking a little, I'm not gonna say rough, but unshaven. This is what he'll look like, with a beard and sideburns and yeah.
Because that's what they were saying, right? The beard and the sideburns,
Mhm.
and I agree. And his face looks older than, with the facial hair. It just kind of adds a little bit of age to, the photo.
Right, and he does
Right.
look a little bit thinner in this picture than the other pictures that have been shown as well.
Yeah, I agree. And that was the thing too. Like I noticed the weight loss. Like I think that some of it had to do with him walking, but then it did make me wonder if the kid was living off of meat sticks and stuff. That's not enough protein. You know what I'm saying? Even with all the walking he was doing,
Right.
And
Well,
Detroit Rock City's
I'm sure stress has a lot to do, with a lot of stuff that he was enduring, within the home too, probably, stress makes you lose a lot of weight as well.
very true. Very true. Detroit Rock City says, was Adam there when Devlin was born?
That would honestly be a question, for Jessica. I believe at one point he was there at the hospital with her every single day for quite a long time, and I guess there was an incident that had happened. But yeah, that's definitely a question, for Jessica.
Yeah, so I just wanted you to have a chance to say something on it because she told me that in the hospital that she had Tim sign the birth certificate since they were together at that time.
Mhm.
And so Tim's name would be on the birth certificate. She did subsequently marry Tim after Devlin was born. And I believe it was somewhere around like 5 or 6 months later, something like that.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. That would definitely have to be something Jessica would have to respond with.
Yeah, no, and hey, Adam Forever 21, and we did a recording about that kind of stuff. But again, like I said, at the end of the day, I am wondering where Tim is, if that is in fact his son, and then also why his parents were so adamant about taking their own family away from, to me,
Mhm.
and Tina, you might feel differently, but I just think, to me, like, if it was my daughter and she had a baby, I would try to help the kids out if they were young. Like, I had my daughter when I was 19, but I already had my own apartment when I was 18, so
Right.
wasn't like a big deal. Like, I was graduated from school when I found out I was pregnant, everything, like that. So it's a little bit different, but, like, wouldn't you help the kids instead of taking Devlin away?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Give a hand saying, Jessica, you need to step up. This is what you need to do. Or look, you don't have a ride. Let me give you a ride. Just give me the appointment times there. And there's resources out there, even back then there was resources that were there and available. Maybe Jessica just wasn't made aware of those, transportation, just a bunch of different things that the resources that were available then and now. As a family, everybody there should have stepped up and said, "Hey, let us help you." Of course, absolutely.
Yeah, because I feel like that was something that was lacking, and I'm just wondering if they really think that Tim is their excuse me, that Tim is the biological father, then why were they, because his name's on the paperwork, and they were really trying to take Devlin away from both of them, not just Jessica, it was both of them, and so I feel like she's being, you know,
So, here's
unfairly
something.
treated in that way.
Right, so here's another idea just popped in my head. So, I have, a niece who I'll just put it this way, she has 2 little boys, and from the day that they were born, my brother, the kids' grandfather took custody, legal custody, actually, adopted them. Now, once he adopted them, the state pays him money to help care for the children. I'm wondering if they took Jessica's rights away, but then also Tim's as a source of income for them for being able to adopt Devlin. You see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? I'm not hearing anything.
I'm so sorry. I was on
Okay.
mute and I didn't realize I had muted it.
Oh, I thought it was me.
No, you're fine. And I'm sorry about that. Um, well, and that's I guess my biggest thing is it's like, can we agree on anything? I mean, that's it's just frustrating.
Right.
To say the least, because at the end of the day, like I said, I think everybody just needs to come together. And those that just kind of want to fling mud around, it's just curious to me because you saw the interviews, like the news interviews,
Mm.
and they were kind of strange, to say the least, on some of their statements not matching up about what time Devlin was supposed to be at home. Do you know anything about his curfew?
The only thing that not really, just what Jessica has told me, so I really don't know specifics, exactly what is accurate or not, but I go by with what Jessica says.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, as far as I know, because I've heard what Jessica has said, 10 o'clock was the curfew, right? And then Tamara said that it was court ordered by a judge for him to be in at 10 o'clock. But then in one of the news interviews, we have Sabrina saying that it was between 6 and 8 that he would come home. But she told the dispatcher that he's usually home at 7 o'clock. And then we also have Matt calling Jessica at 7:30 asking, "Have you heard from Devlin?"
What
So
time? What time exactly was the call placed to the police department to report him missing?
10:32 p.m.
See, in my opinion, okay, so even if he was usually home by 7, his curfew's at 10. He's 18 years old. Me personally, I would be worried. Try to call his phone. Just different things, which I understand that they did try, but I think with Devlin having to go to court the next morning, I don't think I would have jumped and called the police so soon. I think, maybe by midnight, then I'd be like, okay, this is 2 hours past curfew, something is going on. But to really start like, freaking out or, start even for them to call Jessica at 7 something to me, it's just a little too early. Like they're jumping the gun a little bit. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. Like I said, personally, I would have waited until like 12. Of course, I would have been worried, but as far as actually calling the police and getting them involved and saying, we want to report him missing, I think the gun was jumped a little bit too much. So I kind of makes me question a lot of things.
I think that's a good point. Like, because at 10 o'clock, you're thinking, okay, your curfew's at 10. Hey, buddy, you got court in the morning. Where are you at? But you're worried, you're worried. But calling at 10:32, I think, is jumping the gun, especially because they were like scrambling around at 7:30. Matt said that he reached out to Jessica at 7:30. He confirmed that
Right.
himself.
Right. And
So,
I thought about that a lot, and I kind of feel that it was, jumping the gun. I don't know how to word it, but yeah, that's how I feel.
yeah, Little Red says, I do feel like, Tina, that's way too fast. Why? Yeah.
Right, right. Do they know something? I mean, yeah, that was one of my, concerns is why, get so upset and feel the need to call the police department so quickly, he's 18 years old, and you guys, the family, they, I guess, had, been disputing the last couple days. He might have just took an extra walk. I mean, it could have turned out differently. He could have walked in and you're late. I don't know. It's confusing me. Just everything is just really confusing. It boggles my mind.
Yeah, it is really confusing, and just trying to figure out, what was going on, because then if you're worried about him at, 7:30, right? And then 8 o'clock, Jessica says she gets a call from Sabrina around 8 o'clock ish, right?
Right.
But then we have an issue, right, with the timeline there, because then you're waiting until 10:30 to call him in. So that's even a lot, that's 2.5 hours from when you started getting worried too. So I mean, if we're to believe what they're saying, it does get confusing.
Right. So here's another question. With Devlin leaving, he's usually home by 7. We know at 10 o'clock it's dark everywhere. So I'm wondering, what is the timing when it first starts getting dark around that time that he came missing? Because I know that he was afraid of the dark. He had the flashlight, to kind of help guide his way so he can see some. At 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, was it dark by then at that time, or I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I would think it would be. I would think it would be dark by that time. Yeah.
So then it couldn't be them trying to, excuse the expression, but jumping the gun again, by saying, "Oh, well, it's dark outside, he's always home before dark." So that's what I was kind of wondering, at 7 o'clock around that time is, they say usually is coming home. Is it dark at that time? Or, that's why I kind of was asking that question to find out, maybe they, were extra upset or worried because maybe it was dark outside and he normally gets home before dark time.
Right. I mean, and that's the thing Brenda Calvert is asking about, the time difference. So it was
Right.
7:30. It was established that it was 7:30 Michigan time that Jessica was called. So that would have made it, 3 hours before that would have been 4:30 her time.
Right.
So, I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, they've been forthcoming with that information. So, I mean,
Right.
I'm not saying anything nefarious, but when was Matt notified, and by who, that Devlin hadn't been home yet for him to call Jessica, right? And why was Matt the one calling Jessica? I suppose maybe because there's not a great relationship with Sabrina and Jessica, because of him, because of Devlin being pushed into the recliner,
Mhm.
um, is my best guess, right? Because that happened on April 9th.
Right. And I think actually April the 9th was actually the last text message that I received from Devlin too, matter of fact.
Really?
Yeah. Strange. One thing that I wanted to touch base on, so the other day when I was watching, you had, the chore chart up that Sabrina had gave to Devlin. Um, I wasn't, on live or, to where I could comment or anything. I had watched it, after the fact. So one of the things that I wanted to say is that because I know somebody had asked, well, how come Devlin had a chore chart put up, but nobody else did? So my train of thought on that is, I have a son who's 21 years old who has some mental disabilities. And one is that if you give him like multiple steps for things, he forgets. So he's more visual. So like in our home, I would specifically write him a chore chart with the times, I mean, I wouldn't give him time saying he had, to be done by a certain time, but I would just make out a list, this day you have this day you have that, and so forth. So that's visual for him as a reminder. So Jessica, unfortunately, is not on here now, because I wanted to ask Jessica that if he was more of a visual person, did he forget things often? Maybe that's why Sabrina, decided to make him a chore chart, and nobody else had one. Maybe it's because that Devlin needed that visual, that sight to be able to remind himself of, what he needed to do.
Sure. Yeah. And like when my daughter was little, I would do chore charts with her as well. Because
Right.
we always had a trouble with her cleaning her room, right? And then like, her friend would call and be like, "Can Olivia come over? Can I come over? Can we play?" And I'd be like, "No, she's not finished cleaning her room," and then she would go in there and clean her room. And so
Right.
I mean, like it is a struggle, I think, just with kids in general. I think chore charts are a great idea because it's positive reinforcement.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem I had with the chore chart was that it was like he was taking care of Tamara's responsibilities, not his own responsibilities, and them
No,
not
yeah,
focusing,
yeah.
like on his responsibilities, I didn't think was, and then also there was no like, great job, Devlin. If you got this done, I'm not saying treat him like a little child because I'm sure he wouldn't have appreciated that, but I'm just saying like it. And then also, they were not forthcoming with the chore list with me. That was sent to me by Jessica.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because they in the beginning, and because I got an email, and it was basically like, oh, he only has to take out the trash and feed the animals, and there was something else. I can't remember exactly, but I mean, it's on the chore list is on her wall. So why didn't she just send me the chore list?
Right. Absolutely. One of the other questions that I'm going to find out from Jessica, but one of the other thing that goes through my head too is if she knew Devlin to be violent. I know in the Buzz podcasting that you had posted, they were saying that, asking about that basically, and they said, he was more verbal than anything. And I remember that one of my conversations with Tamara was that she did tell me that, he could become violent. And in my eyes, if you say violent, I'm thinking physical, hands on
Same.
or destruction of property or something like that. Versus, well, he's verbally aggressive, but she did say that, in the news thing that he was just verbal. So I'm kind of questioning, that to see if it was just verbal, or are they claiming that, well, I know he's got the DV against him, the one charge, but was there any other type of stuff like that? I mean, I don't know. But it's a question that, I would like to know.
Yeah, because I mean, Jessica told me too, that she was on a FaceTime call with Devlin when they were alleging that the DV occurred.
Mhm.
So that's why she's saying it's false, because she was on a FaceTime with him. And I mean, again, she hasn't told me any. I mean, she's told the truth about pretty much everything, right? I asked her
Right, right.
what happened with Devlin, why'd you get him taken away? And she said medical neglect.
Yeah, she's
And then I
always been truthful. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I mean, I appreciate that because it just makes it so much easier, right? And then I can't, um, I mean, obviously I have trust issues. I mean, I wouldn't be in true crime if I didn't, but
Right,
so
right.
I do try, you know what I mean? I do kind of um try to stay objective, I guess, too. But in the same way, if somebody proves to me that they're giving me information and they're being truthful, then I'm not going to continue to side eye them or make them feel like they're not giving me,
Right.
factual information. So I'm just considering, you know, my
Right.
experience
Well,
with
I
the
know
whole
with
situation.
I know with Jessica, I'll often come up with a question or something. I'll message her and say, hey, I hope, basically I hope that I'm not, intruding, or I know what I'm going to say is could be difficult, or this might be a difficult question, however, and then I'll ask the question, and she never came back and said, oh, I'm not answering that. She'll tell me straight up, whether it's something that I like or something that I don't like. She's always been honest with me to this point, as far as I'm aware, always has been honest and very forthcoming on everything.
Yeah, same here. Same here. And and it's just in the way of trying to figure out what happened to Devlin, you know, because I mean, I find it odd that there was no camera footage of him past Carl's.
Yeah, in this day and age, there's so many the little ring cameras. I mean, there's so many camcorders on our cars. The dash cams. Somebody somewhere. There would be something. There would be something. There has to be. I don't know if the police department. I know they can't, like you were saying earlier, can't always provide information or things that they found, or maybe a lead that they're working on or something. But somebody if there was something out there, I think it would have been brought forth already somewhere, somehow.
I mean, I think so too. Yeah. And, I mean, Brenda says, what about the wild animals and stuff? But the SAR maps that they did, like they searched a 3 mile 3 mile radius around, I believe it was said their house. So where he was at last before he went to town. Um, and so, I mean, and they use like the drones and they use the airplanes and they, all of that sort of stuff. Now, where the United Cajun Navy comes in is because there's so much water around there. I'm wondering if they were able to thoroughly search the water.
And I think I had to ask you a question about that. So one of my questions are this. So I don't know about the Michigan lakes, how many there are, in that general area. Excuse me. But my question is this: what about like crevices underwater, or like tunnels, like underground underneath the water, or a bottomless lake? Is there any of those around in that area? Maybe if something happened, I hate to say this, but something happened, he ended up in the water somehow, and maybe got stuck in one of those crevices that is holding him down. Um, that's one thing when people talk about the water, usually from my understanding, within a day to 3 days after there's a body in the water and the body begins to decompose, the body will float to the top because of the gases, within the body being released. It's going to bring the body to the surface. But what about crevices? If he got caught into a crevice, or just anything, anything. And then I heard you guys talking about sinkholes in the area. Is there a way for somebody to be able to check these sinkholes somehow? Or, I don't know. Those are just some other thoughts that had went through my mind as far as the crevices, or a bottomless lake that, maybe he got pulled under and, taken out to another lake, or, something.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing because there's so many places where it connects, but I agree with what you're saying in terms of unless he was weighted down by something,
Right. Right.
he would have come up to the surface. Um,
If he would have
you
fell
know,
into the lake, let's just say he fell into a lake, and upon trying to come up, or God forbid, a couple days later, his body's trying to come up but got caught like on a underwater root of a tree or something. Now, are these sonars, how deep do they see down in? Like, do they go all the way to the bottom, where they can see the bottom? Or are the lakes clear enough for them to be able to actually see things?
well, they use sonar technology, so
So
they
they
can
would.
see. Yeah, so it'll actually kind of show up as like an image that they could go over and investigate. Is the way I kind of like an easy way to describe the sonar.
Okay. And here's another thing that I hate to mention. I know here in
No, go
Florida
ahead.
we have tons of alligators and crocodiles. What about up there in the lakes around Michigan?
You know, to my knowledge, there's not like
Okay.
how we have here in Florida. Yeah, because I'm in Florida too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and most of the time you could just swim in the lakes and stuff like that up there. You know, like with Lake Michigan, I would worry about like the undertows and stuff like that because it's such a large, one of the Great Lakes. They do have undertows like an ocean does. And
Right.
like you said, those currents and stuff can be kind of strong, even, you know, um, because I was wondering about the creek, but I guess it's not that deep. So Carrie Jackson says no alligators or crocodiles. And she did have a professional reading, Carrie Jackson. And that person reached out to me. I'm still trying to get together with her on trying to, you know, um do like a live stream with her.
Lady
So, but a
Freedom,
bear,
I had a question for you. I think I mentioned it to you before. So,
yeah.
what is the likelihood of trying to find a language behavioral analysis to take a look at some of the news footages of the Tate family? I just find it really kind of odd on some of the things I'm seeing with the videos. For instance, I don't see them looking at the camera directly. I see Tamra looking down most of the time instead of making eye contact, like with the reporter or the camera. The one picture you keep putting up of Sabrina, that just it really irks me to no end, where she's kind of like got her shoulders scrunched up and she's got her head kind of tilted to the side and like a little smile, kind of like I'm Miss Innocent. You know, that picture just for some reason just it boils my blood, and I would be so interested in hearing what a body language analysis person has to say about the body language as far as the Tamara and Sabrina.
I mean, I'm very excuse me. I'm very curious too because that was the one thing that was bothering me because they did the interview April 30th. Both of those interviews were done, and the one it appears that Sabrina's the one sitting in the wheelchair, right? But then in the other interview, she's pushing, her mom, who's Tamara, in the wheelchair, who Tamara does in fact use a wheelchair.
Right.
Um, and I've been a caregiver, like I've done my CNA. I used to take care of people with special needs, so I'm very familiar with people who use wheelchairs. And I've never really seen anything like someone else sitting in someone else's wheelchair and then that duper's delight. And in all fairness, to keep it unbiased on my part, um, you know, Tamara said that she wasn't actually sitting in my wheelchair. It was behind her. Why?
Hmm.
There's just, and there's a level of hostility because they're trying to push that narrative out there, and it does anger me as well because look, don't sit in your mother's wheelchair when we're the ones that are looking to you for information because you're the one that made the 911 call. And to me, that's making it seem like Sabrina is in a wheelchair. Because
Right.
like I'll show it because it is frustrating to me. Um, just because it's portraying her as someone that she's not, right?
Right.
Um, so that is, and then they're upset with me for pointing it out, but I'm just pointing out the obvious and what I'm observing. So it's not to be, a jerk, which yeah, do I find it kind of funny? I do. Yeah, because she's trying to make a fool out of everybody. So I kind of think it's funny that, to catch her up in it. But other than that, I mean, that's the only thing that kind of keeps me from getting really, really mad,
Right.
because it
So
is infuriating.
right. So another thing that really gets to me a lot is the how they feel like they're being attacked when a lot of times people are just asking questions. And so I think I don't remember which, it might have been their Devlin Tate Facebook they have up, or it might have been another one. Um, I'm trying to remember. Hold on one second, which one it was. I don't know, but somebody had asked something. Well, what about Adam's family? Do you think that they would have taken Adam, or Adam's family would have had something to do with his disappearance? As far, or if he's here with us? And for me, I answered their question. I didn't get upset that that question was asked. They asked, what about Adam? Did Adam have something to do with his disappearance? Did Adam, pay for him a ticket or something? I don't get, offended by people asking me questions. If you're innocent, you're going to answer the questions. You're not going to be on the defensive side and, like you said, threatening people or, detouring away from the answers. Answer questions.
Oh, I agree 100%. And, correct me if I'm wrong, too, because I'm open to everybody's perspective. That's why, that's what the show's about.
Right.
But it appears to me that Sabrina's sitting in the wheelchair.
I have to go back and rewatch, but I thought it, excuse me, when that was one of the earlier videos though, right? You said like April the 30th?
Yeah, it aired April 30th on YouTube. Family pleas for help from missing teen with special needs. And I'm just gonna play the clip really quick for you guys.
Okay, yeah.
Disappeared. Devlin.
Anything like this would happen.
A family in Lake Odessa looking for answers tonight after their loved one disappeared. Devlin Tait, an 18-year-old with special needs, was last seen on April 21st in Lake Odessa. Now, 8 days later, he has yet to be found. News 10's Amaya Kuznicki sat down with his family tonight. She joins us now live in studio with details.
And Devlin Tait was last seen wearing a black zip-up hoodie, t-shirt, blue jeans, and cowboy boots. He's just shy of 19, but his family said he is much younger mentally. They're asking anyone with information to come forward to help bring him back home.
Even I break.
Oh, I know. I've broke quite a few times.
Something that can't be helped.
It's something Tamara Host and Sabrina Cook say they never thought would happen in their small community of Lake Odessa.
It's heartbreaking, not knowing where he's at or how he is.
On April 21st, their loved one, Devlin Tait, vanished.
It's just important for
All right, guys, here she is, and she's clearly sitting in the wheelchair. They said that she was sitting on the park bench, right?
She looks like she's
With the
sitting
wheel-
on the edge of it.
Yeah, like she's sitting. Yeah, like maybe she is someone on the park bench. But why would the news even allow for this? Is my problem with mainstream media, not to go after News 10 because they don't have anything to do with disappearance of Devlin. But like why are they allowing for this narrative to be spread for one, and then for two, if somebody's in fact in need of a wheelchair, which I'm assuming that Tamara is. How is it that she's able to sit on a hard concrete bench other than her wheelchair? I mean, it's like ludicrous, but they're upset at me for pointing it out.
us to find him because we love him. And it's not like him to be gone for so long.
So, and that was her mom right next to her. And it just seems like it's a little bit manipulative in my opinion, right? Because oh, she couldn't have done anything. Look at the girl in the wheelchair, it's just odd.
Not like him to be gone for so long.
He was last seen at Carl's supermarket, and ever since his disappearance, the family has been working hand in hand with law enforcement.
Right, and then there's her mom, Tamara, with no wheelchair at all, and there's her without a wheelchair behind her, but then all of a sudden we'll see her in it again.
And have even taken to social media in search of answers, hoping someone comes forward with information. They've even conducted search parties.
I'm not gonna stop looking. I'm not gonna give up because it's not who I am.
That right there.
Yeah. I mean, oh boy, and it does look like she's sitting a little bit off to the side because you can't see like the other arm rail, so to speak. But it's just, to me, it's like, and this was a trigger for Tamara, by the way. So whenever somebody's triggered by something, instead of saying, look, Lady Freedom, I know it appears that she's sitting, in the wheelchair, but she's actually sitting on the park bench. But my question still would be, why does she have the wheelchair behind her? Why doesn't Tamara have the wheelchair behind her when it's her wheelchair?
Right, to have it, right next to her in case she wants to get up. The wheelchair is literally right there for her to be able to grab onto and, get into the wheelchair safely. I agree.
Yeah, because we don't want her to get hurt, and I mean, why would the wheelchair be closer to Sabrina if they weren't trying to pass it off like it was hers?
Right, and this is the picture that irks me really bad. Like, you see the left shoulder up, and then you see her head kind of cocked to that shoulder, and then look at the smile on her face. Like, I don't know, there's something about that particular shot right there.
Yeah. Yeah, it stuck with me too because I mean, obviously, well, for one, I would have been distraught, right? Just talking to the news. This is
Exactly.
the first time they've talked to the news, or the
I've been
second time.
Yeah, I would have been bawling my eyes out, like, seriously, like, I don't know, I just think it's very unusual how she's reacting.
I do too. And then 11 o'clock that night it aired, it looks like, but that was during the day when they filmed it. But it was 8 days into, the disappearance of Devlin. And like, I would have been beside myself, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's been gone this long. I thought we would find him by now. Like, oh my, you just,
Yeah,
completely out of.
if anybody knows anything, please contact the police department, just something.
Yes. And, I spoke with Detective Castle yesterday, and she's very concerned, about the whole situation. And she was taking down notes and stuff like that. I'm still working on getting her all of the information over. Um, but, it's very apparent to me that they're trying to figure out what's happened here. And,
Mhm.
they're doing what they can, but it's hard when the people who were last with him aren't being truthful. Because that was another thing too, that, Will Hartman was also living in the house, and anybody that was living in the house with Devlin, in my opinion, are kind of people of interest at this point to me.
Right.
But I've only
You
been
know
on the case for like 3 weeks.
Right. So another thing that bothers me too about the news interviews, I've seen a lot of news reports and such where families are coming on, to speak out about their loved ones missing. And a majority of them, sometime throughout, the interview, they're looking at the camera, why wouldn't they look at the camera and say, Devlin, if you left on your own accord, please, leave us a voice message or send us a voice recording, just let us know that you are okay. But I never saw any of that. Why not reach out directly to Devlin, through the news?
Well, that's what the family members usually do that are really, concerned about where he could be, you know what I mean? Um, Very much so, right?
Right.
Like
That's
they're
what
pleading to the camera because they don't know where they are. They're hoping they're listening.
Yeah, exactly. And that's my point. I mean, why haven't they done that? Why wasn't that done? Why not make a direct, plea to Devlin? Hey, Devlin, if you're out there, if you're seeing this, please, even if they, don't care for Jessica, hey, Devlin, if you don't want to speak with us, please call Jessica. Please call your mom. Let somebody know that you are okay. I just think that, I don't know, that kind of gets to me as well.
Well, it does me too, and especially when we think about it from the perspective of, that they're not welcoming to Jessica or saying, "Hey, call your mom, call Sandra, call us. You're not, we're not going to be angry with you if you did run away." Just something like that. But they haven't done any of that.
Right. That to me is concerning.
And it worries me too when they say somebody that they're also saying that somebody knows something too, because we've also seen in other cases, one in particular was a 9-year-old Jaden Spicer, and his mother and stepfather are now in jail for, one for actually taking his life and the other one for helping, just
Mm.
him, and I hate to get, graphic and stuff like that because poor little Jaden, he just didn't deserve it. But, his mother wrote a handwritten letter on notebook paper saying, come forward, do the right thing. And, that always, it's not going to be across the board in every case just because one person says the exact same thing as the other person. But there's been
Right.
other instances like this right here.
Right.
Well, I better get this puppy dog because he's ready to go out. But I've loved having you up here, Tina. Are you available on Saturday night to join Little Red and Sprinkle Donut and myself?
I may be. Let me get back with you. Yeah, let me get back with you. I'll let you know prior to, but I should be depending on what time.
Okay. Yeah, we're gonna do kind of a panel, and I would like to have like you and Jessica back up, to and I got a note from Little Red on my text. So, um,
Okay.
yeah, I think that would be really great, like just to have you back up because I appreciate your perspective on things. And again, just more people that love Devlin that want to come help and want to come discuss the case, the better to me. I'm accepting of everybody, but I just don't want there to be the blow ups and the drama because that's not going to attract the right type of people that we want that will help Devlin, you
Right.
know. So that's why I'm trying to keep it as to a minimum. But I think there's so much pain and hurt, with everything.
Yeah, there definitely is. There definitely is. All right, yeah, I
Yeah.
will definitely get back with you before Saturday, and just let me know a time, and we'll see what we can work out for sure.
Sounds great, Tina. I appreciate you. Is there anything else you want to say?
No, not really. I mean, I really appreciate you, working with Jessica and actually giving everybody, the opportunity to voice their concerns, ideas, opinions, their theories. Um, it's working together, and I think eventually, everything's going to come to a head, and we're going to find Devlin. I mean, I'm sure that it's just a matter of time, and and it's like I tell Jessica all the time, things look pretty grim right now, in my opinion, but it's like I told Jessica, no news is good news in a sense. And then, until there is none, there's always hope. This, to keep on holding on to faith and, just everybody just needs to come together, even the Tait family, I wish they would, be more a part of things and be respectful and understanding that people have questions, and don't be so defensive, I mean, the defensiveness is, what's making them look suspicious, and, everybody just needs to work together. But I really appreciate you, and everybody that's here. I really appreciate you guys a lot.
Aw, thank you. Thank you so much, Tina. And
Absolutely.
yeah, thanks for coming up. And like I said, anytime you want to talk about something or if there's something, I appreciate you texting me too. Um, you know, in order for us to kind of come up with ideas. Cause yeah, I mean, there's things that I might be thinking about that I'm like, wow, I didn't think about that. You just told me, okay. And I'm like, wow, let's talk about it. And
Right.
that's why I like having the live chat too, because everybody kind of putting their heads together.
Yeah, it takes a army, just different opinions, ideas, suggestions that other people might not have thought about, that could open up something that could lead to Devlin. So, absolutely.
And Tina, really quick, do you know when that picture was taken of Devlin? I know it's his mugshot. I know.
Yeah, I actually, when I get off the phone here, I gotta put my phone on charge. So if you give me maybe about 15 minutes, I will screenshot you all the information that came along with that because I had sent
Thank you.
Jessica quite a bit of things on it, but it does have the rest of it does have the date on it. I believe that was from this year. I think 2025 January, I believe. But I'll send you the full length of it so you can take a look at it.
Thank you so much.
Of
Yeah, because
course.
I mean, and Carrie Jackson, we're gonna talk more about the pictures with Devlin because his friend helped me discover that one of the pictures that was put out of Devlin was AI, and Little Red
Oh
and I were
wow.
working on it together. Yeah, so I was gonna talk about it more on her show. Um, and show kind of what we came up with there. So there's definitely some kind of something weird going on with the pictures as well. And then the fact that, obviously Devlin was said to have had sideburns and, a beard when he left, but I don't see how he could have grown a full sideburns and beard from the pictures that we're seeing up here. One is in the red hoodie, and that was from Carl's, both in, I believe, April. I know the one in the red was in April. So yeah.
Hey, Lady Freedom. I just thought of something. So Devlin, when we were talking on Facebook Messenger, he actually was walking and asked me to hold on, that he was going to snap a picture of himself to send to me, that he wanted me to send to Adam. I'm going to go back and see if I still have that picture, which I'm pretty sure I do, and I will send that to you. And I'll find out the date stamp on it, because that might have actually been the most recent picture before he left, or before he disappeared. So I will get that, and I'll send that to you as like the latest update picture, before he went missing.
Thank you. Yeah, because I'm trying to figure out, who all sat with him at church too on Easter Sunday, because like that was
Mhm.
not a family affair, in my opinion. From what I was told, that was just Devlin going to church by himself, which is okay. I'm not saying that. I mean, he's grown up enough to do that, but
Right.
I just feel like they kind of like what were they doing at Easter? I mean, I don't know. It's just odd.
Right. So I'm wondering if he went to church for Easter dinner. Usually when there's like little parties like that or get-togethers, there's people who take pictures. So I'm wondering if anybody from there has, took pictures that might have some pictures of Devlin there that day.
I know, I was wondering that too. Like, I wanted to talk to everybody about his demeanor too, or like people that were there with him, but no one's
Right.
reached me so far. So I'm hoping, and maybe I just need to start streaming on Facebook too when we talk about Devlin. So
Could you get the name of that church and maybe the address, and maybe write to them and say, who you are, and you're looking for maybe some of the members, just ask some questions about his demeanor, or if they have pictures. I mean, just maybe send them a letter of some sort, or maybe if they have an email attached to a website that they have up or something.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out exactly where he was on Easter, because here's the thing. We have Matt that gave me the name of the church, but then we also have Tamra who was on Crime Time Buzz, and she was saying things like, well, he went down to the, Methodist church over here, and he was at this church over here and that church, and it's like, would you just please tell us what
Mm.
church that he went to on Easter Sunday, for crying out loud, you know?
Right,
And so
right.
I have to kind of go back, and I don't want to like make a phone call to the church or anything and stir anything up, but I have wanted to know if I could get a hold of just the pastor at the church,
Right.
and just say hi and just say, hey, I'm not going to take up a lot of your time, but I would like to know more about Devlin's coming for Easter dinner, or do you remember, or do you know anybody who would have saw him, or I mean, because I don't know, it just seems like Devlin, was a friendly guy, and he would have made friends with anybody he was eating with, like say you're
Right.
sitting next to a, I'm like that. If I was sitting next to you, I didn't know you, and we were at church, I would talk to you, you know.
Right. So if
I'm
he
just that way.
frequented this church often, I'm wondering if he confided in, somebody there, about situation that was going on within the home or something, or somebody there that might have knowledge, with him going in and speaking to somebody, and privately or something.
Right. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just anybody that could tell us more about the situation, because honestly, I understand that that's where he went missing from, and Tamara and them, but Tamara and them weren't hanging out with Devlin. Devlin was out and about by himself, doing his thing. And so, really, the community members are the ones that could tell us a little bit more about what his Easter was like, more than his family, because he wasn't with his family. He was with his community family, and I just really
Right.
hope that they would, because, and this is the thing that bothers me, and I wanted you to be able to talk, and I don't, like I said, again, I'm not trying to perpetuate drama, but I want to drive the point home that all you did was share a flyer on your personal Facebook page, right?
Right.
And you're attacked by Sabrina of all people. How does Sabrina even know who you are? Could you, I mean,
Probably, I'm trying to figure out how did me and I actually went back yesterday to scroll back through some of mine and Tamara's conversations. There's actually some things in there that I wanted to send to you. And for some reason, a lot of my stuff is not there. Our messages are not there. So I'm going to go back through because I know that at one point I had screenshotted a lot and I had sent them to Jessica. So I'm going to go back through. But I think probably through Tamara, because I think Tamara was the first person that in the family that I had spoke to. And I really don't recall if I reached out to her. She probably reached out to me first. I'm not sure. Another thing I wanted to bring up was I got to go too because my phone. I know we keep talking here. Did he take? Was he did he go see a counselor? Like, did he have a counselor that he went to? Do you know of, like, for medical? Because like my son has, a psychiatrist, a regular doctor. He goes to counseling.
Sure. And that was another thing that was very hazy. And because it was said on Crime Time Buzz that Devlin only took mood stabilizers, but then, Matt came over here in the chat and was saying that he was on lithium and that he was taking some pretty heavy duty stuff, right? And I would imagine that he would have had to have someone like that. I know that there was a women's center right across the street. And I don't know if Matt was trying to make fun of Devlin when he said this, because now that I'm thinking about it and talking about it out loud, it kind of seems like he might be trying to take a dig at the kid, like the women's center's helping him because they like to call him, names like and demasculate him.
Right.
But
That's another
I
big
will.
concern too, but for another time.
Yeah, it's a huge concern, but like he did say that across from Penny's Pizza there was a lady that's the one that was helping him with the GED, not the parapro, which I find that to
Right.
be odd too.
Okay, so I was just wondering if he's actually talking to a state official counselor. Is there a way that the courts or somebody could request like the records? I know that there's the HIPAA law and stuff like that, but if he was speaking to somebody, a counselor or something, maybe something that was going on or something that he's in fear of or something like that, maybe that might be of help or something. I'm not sure.
Right. Well, and I was curious and I did ask the officer two questions because I was also reporting some of the weird stuff. But I did ask Detective Castle yesterday. I said, "Can you confirm the ping?" And she said, "I can't." And I said, "Can you confirm, the video at Carl's? Like, are you guys planning on releasing that, or is there somewhere that I can go specifically for updates from you guys in order to get the best information?" And she said, "We're not doing updates," and
Okay.
that, yeah, and that they're not going to release the. She said, I mean, if I'm just like reading between the lines, she's telling me that there was footage of Devlin. I'm
Right.
sorry. There was, in fact, video of Devlin.
Okay.
And that there was a video there is so what they told the media was, yeah, that they had him on camera at Carl's last, and he used his bridge card, but she just really couldn't elaborate because she didn't want to. It's open and ongoing investigation, not cold. They're actively working any leads that come in, and she followed up with me very quickly. I can say that as well.
Right.
Just from my own experience, but I understand from the family's point of view, it's probably frustrating as hell. Um, you know.
Right, I agree. Wow.
So, um, but yeah, was he talking to anybody? Yeah, and that's the question too. Was he talking to anybody about the essay too? And yeah, Detroit, I don't know. And as far as we know, Sasha, he didn't have any girlfriends. Just some girls that he had met on Threads. I do know of these accounts and I have screenshots, but the girls were pretty scantily clad. And, Devlin's a 19-year-old boy. So obviously, I mean, I look, Instagram, in my opinion, I'm not on Instagram very much because whenever I go on there, I see half naked young ladies and I have a
Right.
daughter, so I'm like, oh Lord, help us. It's not my cup of tea, but if I was a 19-year-old boy, I would probably love it, so I mean,
Yeah,
it is what
typical
it
young
is.
men. Yeah.
He's a typical young man, you know. So like to me, I try not to be you know, but I'm also not going to put those girls on blast either. So yeah, he was in fact talking, in my opinion, that I've seen three different girls that he started talking to on that day. And I don't think that they were meeting up or anything. I think it was just like online flirting, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
attention seeking.
Yeah, like, okay, well, I'm bored, so I'm gonna see if this girl wants to talk. I think she's cute and, um, and those and not to put down, young girls or anything, but young girls need to dress a little bit to the imagination, in my opinion. You're gonna attract the wrong attention, and some of the attention they were attracting from Devlin was, in all honesty, the wrong attention, right? Like, he's
Right.
asking him questions about, "Hey, you wanna get,"
Yep,
"You wanna
yep, I
knock the
saw them.
boots?"
Yeah,
You
I
saw
saw
'em,
some of the comments, yeah. But that's typical though, young boy and I mean young man. But yeah, that's typical though. So I wasn't surprised when I read some of his responses back to some of the comments he made on there.
Same here. I was like, "Well, that's typical. He seems like just a regular old guy," and the girls are, I mean, that's what they're enticing. But in the same way, it's like you said too, I mean, golly, if somebody saw our private text or something, it could be a little, so I mean, I'm trying to keep his privacy as much as we can, but it's tough, right? Because I mean,
Right.
you got to consider all these options. And then also people were worried about, was he being catfished, which, is still in the air. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean that is a great possibility as well. I mean, like we talked about, there's so many different scenarios, so many, things out there that, are possibilities. So, but
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Tina, if you think of anything else, and I'll look out for your text messages too, because the more of that kind of stuff that we can get, the better. Because obviously, people's memories are going to be hazy at this point, but then also, self-preservation kicks in for anybody, in my opinion.
right, absolutely. Well, I'll definitely send that information over to you, and I will definitely let you know about Saturday. And again, I appreciate you and everybody that's in in the chats. I appreciate everybody.
Yeah, absolutely, Tina. Thanks so much for being here and for helping.
All right, absolutely, absolutely. All right, you guys have a great night.
All right, you too. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, bye bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys. Oh, well, made myself huge there. So yeah, that was Tina. That's Adam Nolan's mom, and that is Devlin's grandma, right? And we just talked with her a little bit. Women's Warrior says very normal behavior for a young people. My 21-year-old boy accidentally sent me some of his conversation. Oh no, Women's Warrior. I know, right? I was just thinking back, you know, when I was young, and oh gosh, we didn't have the capabilities that they do, but Detroit. This is my time. My brothers would steal the Victoria's Secret catalog and the Playboys. Oh gosh, what is it? Hustler. I mean, could you imagine? And then these boys have it right there on their phones. They could just pull it right in. Because yeah, I know, Sasha, we were thinking about catfishing scenario, right? Could have been. And then also, for Devlin, it had to have been a very difficult thing with girls because he was still kind of awkward and stuff. But in the same way, you know, uh, he was just kind of being a boy. And the girls were being, like I said, the girls were, wearing what they were wearing. So, but I don't want to put them on blast. But I will say, from my own two eyes, I saw three accounts that Devlin was talking with the girls, the scantily clad young ladies. Um, I used to pick out the hot guys in the Sears catalog and circle them. That's cute, Andrea. I just remember the Tiger Beat magazines, right? And you'd be looking in there like, oh, Jonathan Taylor Thomas or something, like, oh my gosh, I got to put him on my wall. We used to take the posters off of, that's my, era of, we didn't have text message to do any of that stuff. Now after I got divorced and I was, 28, 29 years old, getting back into that, I was like, what is this? What am I getting myself into? Like, who am I? What? Um, hey, Linda Hall, good to see you. Thank you for being here. Yeah, Lil Red says I'm worried about someone using his phone and him ending up in a bad situation. Yeah, and that's the thing too. There's so many things that could have happened, the 900 numbers. Oh no. Detroit. Yes, they are coming, Sasha. They are coming. The Cajun Navy is coming. Yeah. And it's I think that's the most exciting thing. And that's one thing, and because I know it's just been tough for Jessica, and I told her, I said, don't you let them get you in a negative mind space. And then two, we're trying to remain hopeful. I really do want to remain hopeful. Because it's tough in a situation, but um we got to figure this out. Yeah, Cece says I think Sabrina is sitting in at the picnic table and probably helped Tamara onto the bench. Yeah, I don't know. I'd like to talk to the reporters and ask them like what is with that, because I just found that to be very odd right off the bat. Because I mean, I've never seen anybody else sit beside or sit in front of somebody else's wheelchair like that. Because that's what she's alleging. She's not sitting in it. She's sitting in the bed, like on the park bench with the wheelchair behind her, which I'm like, yeah, but why? Still, why? Women's Warrior says, I feel Devlin was a lovely young man and he was just living under negativity. His wings were clipped. And if he got to his mama's, I believe he would fly and he would wonder. Be a wonderful young man with a bright future. I believe that too, right? And I do think Devlin needed some therapy, right? Like we all do. We're none of us come off of this planet unscathed, right? It doesn't matter if it's childhood trauma, if it's trauma from, an ex. Every situation is taken differently by other people. Thank you, Jackie T. It's just, it's all up to perception. You and I could both get into a car wreck and it could be the same exact car wreck and I could have PTSD and you don't, or you could have different injuries than I do. Something like that, right? You could be severely injured and I'm not. It's we're all individuals. We're all different. So one situation that would break one person would make somebody else stronger. One situation that would not be as traumatic for one could be super traumatic for another. It just really depends on how people deal with it and perceive it. But I do think that if Jessica and even Tim would have had better resources at that time, it probably would have helped them tremendously, right? Because nobody likes to be told what to do, especially when you're young and headstrong, in my opinion. Little Red says, yes, I am needed to keep Jessica in a positive mood. Yeah, so she doesn't feel alone, etc. I hope she knows we are all standing with her. Yeah, Little Red. I hope so too. And I just don't want, I don't want them to have the power, you know, um, and the attention. Because I think one thing that we've realized with these cases is a lot of these people get into it for the attention factor, right? And that's one thing I wanted to keep everybody separated in terms of if you want to come up on the panel and speak, let's do it one at a time, right? Like everybody gets a chance, but let's do it one at a time. The problem is that when you're not truthful with me, I don't want to waste my time or your guys' time listening to that, right? In my opinion, it's like, well, if you're not going to be straight with me, why are we talking, right? And so if we can get people to just not worry about their differences, right? Say, okay, yeah, I don't like you and you don't like me, but we need to find Devlin. That's the biggest goal. If we can get everybody on that page, that would be fantastic, right? Let's not bash each other. Let's not say you did this back in 1977 and, back in, 1987 this was done. No, who cares? Right? At this point, we need to figure out where Devlin is. What we do know about Devlin is that he was a young man who was mistreated in the house that he was living in with Tamra, right? As far as the accounts that I have heard, that we have Tamra calling him names, threatening to lock him out, accounts that she did lock him out. But her own words was threatening him, right? So we have that. We know that. That's what's important to me right now, because if you kicked the boy out of the house regularly, if he was late for curfew, you would just kick him out. Why all of a sudden are you worried about Devlin at 7:30 at night? Right? Why is Matt saying, who spoke to Devlin on the phone, hey YouTuber, who spoke to Devlin, on the phone, saying to one person he was his happy-go-lucky self, and then saying again in my chat, where I have a screenshot of him saying it, is that he was in a pretty decent mood, right? Not in a bad mood. He was, he was all right. No biggie, right? But one minute he's happy-go-lucky, the next minute he's in a decent mood, right? Not a foul one, kind of neutral, right? So how do we go from happy-go-lucky to neutral, right? So, yes, thank you, Little Red. So we're going to do a live on Saturday, guys, and we're going to multi-stream. I'm going to stream it as well as Sprinkled Donut too. I think, right, Little Red, will get together on it, but that's fine with me, and that'll be 9:15 my time. That's perfect for me. And then we have Jessica, who's in Yuma, and Tina's down here with in Florida with me. So, and guys, we're not going to have a perfect scenario when we're talking about true crime cases, right? There's a lot of trauma, a lot of hurt, a lot of pain, a lot of things that people are probably regretting. You know, so we just got to make the best of the situation and move forward. You know, lady, I think that Ellie have a rough idea what happened here. They just trying to prove it. That's the way I feel, Women's Warrior, and Detective Castle's like, please, we're openly accepting leads, but we also don't want to get bombarded with phone calls either, and I understand where she's coming from, right? Because we do want to allow for them to continue to gather evidence and do their job. I just think it's great to have resources out there too, searching the water, searching the ground again, going over. So yeah, I think it's gonna be great. Yeah, I think so too, Lil Red. It is. It's like we need the awareness. We need the discussion to continue about Devlin. It's important. All right, guys. Well, I'll be back on about 11:45 tonight. We're probably not going to do the ribbons tonight. I'll have to push the ribbons one more night. But that's okay. No big deal. We'll get them done. But we'll come back up and we're going to do the rest of Smiley's interview, or another part to Smiley's interview tonight, where we watch and, kind of go over it again, to see what we see now, and what we didn't know about before. So, but I appreciate you guys being here. Again, a special thank you to Jessica and Tina for coming up here and, just having a candid conversation and bringing in new ideas. Also, a big thank you to our friend Chuchi and the United Cajun Navy for stepping up and helping. And I also just want to say again how strong Jessica is, how she is doing exactly what she needs to do. And, I could send her resources all day long, right? And she could just never act upon them. The only people that can help Devlin right now through these organizations is his family and especially his mother. Devlin needs his mom the most, in my opinion, right? But he needs everyone to come together and to continue to advocate for him in a positive way. And so we're just going to keep on doing that, guys, because even though it's an uphill battle, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get up the hill, right? It doesn't mean we won't prevail just because it's hard. And it's going to be hard. And it's going to be hard working with people that we don't get along with. But if that's what we have to do, so be it. Because Devlin needs to be found. He is the one that is out there, right? So thank you guys. And I know it's not, the typical YouTube thing. Like, if I was to have everybody up here screaming and yelling, I'd have 1,000 people in here. That's the part that's disheartening to me, that I'm trying not to get my negativity rolling, right? I'm trying to keep positive because that is something that does bother me a lot. But I appreciate all you guys for being here and for continuing on. And let's just keep on looking for Devlin. Let's keep looking for Sebastian. Let's just keep on going. So, because we've seen how things went in the Sebastian Rogers case, and there's entities and resources that won't help because they don't want the drama. They just want to help. And I don't want the drama. I just want to help. So, and I know you guys are the same way, or you wouldn't be here. So again, there's enough drama. We could talk about the subjects that are interesting. But other than that, let's find Devlin. All right, guys. I love you all. Thank you so much, you guys. I couldn't do it without you.